Chapter 12:21. Chen Yi could naturally feel a sense of closeness from Qin Wentian. Most probably, Lin Shuai and Qin Wentian had an extremely good relationship back then, which was why he treated her as his kin. If not, how could she be acquainted with such a character? Wentian. Chen Yi didn't act pretentious, she smiled and called out. Qin Wentian's smile grew even gentler. His gaze landed on Mo Qingqing, who was beside him. Mo Qingqing walked up, causing the gazes of everyone to land on her. Right now, when they looked at Mo Qingqing again, they only felt that she was like a celestial maiden from the heavens, unreachable. She was Qin Wentian's woman. What was laughable was that earlier, there were actually many people who had the ridiculous thought that it was a pity for such a beauty to follow Qin Wentian. Sister Little E, this is a small token of our sincerity. Congratulations to you and senior brother. Mo Qingqing took out an interspatial ring and passed it to Chen Yi. Chen Yi started. She stared at Lin Shuai only to see Lin Shuai nodding his head lightly. Since this is the sincerity of junior brother Qin and sister-in-law Qingqing, just accept it. Emichim. Chen Yi nodded lightly, smiling sweetly at Mo Qingqing as she spoke in a low voice. Qingqing, you are so beautiful. Sister Little E is the same as well. Mo Qingqing smiled. Those from the Battle Sword sect all stood up. A moment later, Kuo Yan, Wang Jianxing and the others all retreated, kneeling at the side. Sword Sovereign Ling Tian, Yi Lingshuang and the others all felt that they had finally vented their anger. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian, they would have to endure this for a long time. Lin Shuai Little E, this is a token of our sincerity. Please accept it. Everyone presented their gifts. Lin Shuai bowed to them. The gifts from the various elders, no matter what they are the most precious to me. If Lin Shuai said this before, he would surely be unhappy and even mocked. But now that he said it like this, no one dared to object. Chen clan leader, those eyesores shouldn't appear here. This is my senior brother's wedding. Just tell these people to scram. Qin Wentian couldn't be bothered to be calculative with these people. These people weren't worthy at all. Young Master Qin, please calm down. We will scram right away. Huo Yan's father knelt on the ground and hurriedly pulled Huo Yan and the rest away. Chen Shui's countenance stiffened. She didn't know if she should leave or not. Father Chen glanced at her and spoke. You can scram with your husband. Chen Shui could feel the anger in her father's heart. It was no wonder that she and Huo Yan were the ones who had insulted Qin Wentian the most. Thinking back to how she had boasted and acted so arrogantly in front of Qin Wentian, she felt so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. She left with her tail between her legs. Lin Shuai was her brother-in-law, a close relative. Her brother-in-law's junior apprentice brother was the disciple of the Emperor Qianbian. Originally, she even had the opportunity to visit a legendary place like the immortal Qianbian Gate. But now she knew that it was impossible. Let alone Lin Shuai and his sect. Even her father and her younger sister wouldn't want to see her again. Those who mocked Qin Wentian's sect and teased the beauties around Qin Wentian all left with their tails between their legs. Since they knew of Qin Wentian's identity, it was clear that he wasn't a celestial phenomenon ascendant. Given his cultivation base, how could he not remember what people said before? Now that he didn't want to bother with them, what else could they do other than scram? Some of the elders of the Chen clan also arrived. After knowing of Qin Wentian's identity, all of them were filled with respect. Their gazes were extremely sharp when they stared at Father Chen, evidently unhappy with him. Young Master Qin, it's better for you to change seats. Father Chen still didn't dare to be the slightest bit casual. Qin Wentian treated Chen Yi well because of Lin Shuai. Although he was Chen Yi's father, his attitude towards Lin Shuai's sect earlier couldn't be considered friendly. Not only that, from how Qin Wentian addressed him as Chen Clan Lord, it was clear that Qin Wentian wasn't very happy with him. No need, the seats don't matter. It's also not bad to chat with Senior Fang here. Chen Clan Lord, you can go ahead and do what you need to do. I've already said that I'm merely here to accompany the guests. I only hope that my senior brother and sister-in-law's wedding would be a happy one. Qin Wentian spoke. At this moment, Father Chen also understood Qin Wentian's attitude. He nodded his head. This time he really put his heart and soul into arranging the wedding of Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. He was always by Qin Wentian's side and didn't dare to be casual with Lin Shuai anymore. He didn't even know who his father-in-law was anymore. Qin Wentian and Feng Mu were chatting idly. There were no maids and maids around them. Only a few elders of the Chen clan were accompanying them. At this moment, one of the elders raised his cup to Qin Wentian and drank a mouthful of wine. How would he dare to ask Qin Wentian to drink with him? Young Master Qin, what do you think of the Chen clan's clan lord? As soon as Qin Wentian said this, Father Chen, who had been paying attention to them, felt his heart tighten and his face turn slightly pale. The meaning behind Qin Wentian's words was extremely terrifying. As long as Qin Wentian said a word of dissatisfaction, his position as the clan lord would most likely come to an end. Although the Chen clan couldn't be compared to the immortal Qianbian Gate, it was still a distinguished clan. The ones who truly decided the position of the clan lord were the most powerful elders. Why are you asking me about the Chen clan? Qin Wentian frowned and said, as long as my senior brother and sister-in-law are happy, I naturally won't have any opinions. As soon as Qin Wentian said this, Father Chen immediately heaved a sigh of relief. As expected, Qin Wentian was doing this for Little Yi's sake. His position as the clan lord would depend on Lin Shuai and Little Yi's attitude in the future. Fortunately, Little Yi was his daughter. No matter what, she would still be on his side. However, when he spoke to Lin Shuai, he became more and more polite. Naturally, there wouldn't be any twists and turns in this wedding. Everyone revolved around Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. Qin Wentian and the others couldn't get close to them, and the other party wouldn't come in contact with them either. They could only build a good relationship with Lin Shuai and Chen Yi. Therefore, they all showed the highest enthusiasm. Qin Wentian and the others naturally understood the reason for all this. Given their senior brother's personality, he definitely wouldn't care about such hypocritical enthusiasm. Most probably after this wedding, he would bring Chen Yi away from the Chen clan. As an immortal king expert, Feng Mu was an extremely intelligent character. Although he was polite and enthusiastic, he didn't show any signs of flattery, nor did he make any requests. He merely wanted to build a better relationship with Qin Wentian. Feng Mu most probably also understood that it was enough for him to make Qin Wentian have a good impression of him and the Feng clan during their first meeting. If he made any requests, most probably, Qin Wentian would ignore him. Lin Shuai and Chen Yi also came to Qin Wentian's side and sat down. Feng Mu smiled at Lin Shuai. Nephew Lin Shuai, this time around, I didn't prepare any gifts. Let me gift you a strand of protective immortal scents. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. A strand of immortal scents from an immortal king was extremely precious. This Feng Mu knew that it was useless to him, hence he gifted it to Lin Shuai to do Lin Shuai a favor. This Feng Mu was truly intelligent. Lin Shuai naturally understood Feng Mu's thoughts. He resolutely shook his head. Senior Feng is too polite. How would Junior dare to accept a strand of immortal scents from Senior? Feng Mu naturally wouldn't ask for anything in return for gifting him a strand of immortal scents. But this favor would be placed on Qin Wentian. Lin Shuai naturally couldn't accept it. Feng Mu smiled and didn't reply. However, Qin Wentian spoke. Since Senior Feng is so kind, Senior brother, there's no need to stand on ceremony. If his senior brother wanted to go out for a walk, with the protection of an immortal king's strand of immortal scents, it was equivalent to having an extra life. But to him, this was merely a small favor. Feng Mu wouldn't ask him to do anything. At most, he would befriend Qin Wentian. Chen Yi glanced at Lin Shuai and Qin Wentian. From an emotional point of view, she naturally hoped that Lin Shuai would accept it. After all, the strand of immortal scents from an immortal king was something that no one in her Chen clan had such an opportunity. All right then. Lin Shuai smiled. There was no need for him to judge his junior brother Qin based on his own attitude. Given the status of Feng Mu and Qin Wentian, they naturally understood that the strand of immortal scents couldn't represent too much. Hence, under the envious gazes of many, Feng Mu left a strand of immortal scents on Lin Shuai. This wedding would eventually come to an end. Qin Wentian and the people of the Battle Sword sect bid their farewells. Lin Shuai and the experts of the Chen clan also sent them off. Senior brother Lin's sister-in-law, take care. Qin Wentian and the experts of the Battle Sword sect clasped their hands and spoke. Under the gazes of everyone, they soared up into the air. Staring at Qin Wentian's pet transforming into a great rock, the people of the Chen clan were no longer surprised. Lin Shuai and Chen Yi both felt a sense of melancholy. In life, no matter what kind of brothers or good friends they still had to live their own lives. Separation was unavoidable. After this separation, it was unknown when they would meet again. In reality, things were just like what Qin Wentian had guessed. After staying in the Chen clan for several days, Lin Shuai and Chen Yi left to roam the world. Although the people of the Chen clan wanted them to stay, if Lin Shuai wanted to leave, who would dare to stop them? After Qin Wentian returned to the immortal Qianbian Gate, he busied himself with transforming the bodies of his loved ones. He didn't hesitate to go to auctions, using treasures to exchange for some medicinal pills for his loved ones to refine their bodies, as well as using cultivation arts to temper their bodies, all in preparation for breaking through to immortal foundation. Time flowed by. Qin Wentian enjoyed this period of peace and quiet. Today, several immortal kings appeared in the Cloud Prefecture city. The immortal Qianbian Gate instantly learned of this and kept a close eye on them. They discovered that these experts were actually heading straight for the immortal Qianbian Gate. Outside the majestic ancient castle of the immortal Qianbian Gate, a group of experts stood there calmly. From the immortal Qianbian Gate, more and more experts appeared, staring at these newcomers. These experts all exuded a sharp aura, like unsheathed swords, not bothering to mask their sharpness. Everyone, why did you all come to the Cloud Prefecture city? An immortal king from the immortal Qianbian Gate asked. We are students from the Supreme Sword School, and are here to pay a visit to the Emperor Qianbian. These people calmly replied. The hearts of the immortal kings trembled. Seems like the commotion caused by the Sacred Academy back then had finally caused the other party to make a move. Immortal kings directly appeared in the Cloud Prefecture city and came to the immortal Qianbian Gate. The Emperor Monarch is busy with his cultivation. I'm afraid he won't have the time. The immortal Qianbian Gate replied. Don't worry, we are willing to wait in the immortal Qianbian Gate. When the Emperor Monarch is free to meet us, we will pay a visit again. The people from the Supreme Sword School laughed, as though they were long prepared. Chapter 1222. These people from the Supreme Sword School came in the name of visiting. What could the immortal Qianbian Gate do about it? They could either let these immortal kings stay outside, or invite them into the immortal gate as guests. The former would make the immortal Qianbian Gate seem to lack the bearing of an emperor-level force. In that case, please follow me into the immortal gate to rest. However, the rules of the immortal Qianbian Gate still need to be followed, the powerhouse of the immortal Qianbian Gate said. Of course. The people from the Supreme Sword School nodded. Both sides appeared to be extremely polite, without the slightest bit of anger, as if they were old friends. There was no hostility at all. The people from the immortal Qianbian Gate arranged for the immortal kings of the Supreme Sword School to stay in the immortal gate. There were also maids to serve them. However, when the people from the Supreme Sword School wanted to see the Emperor of Qianbian, they never saw him. As an immortal emperor and the master of the immortal Qianbian Gate, it was natural for the Emperor of Qianbian to find a reason to refuse the visit of the immortal kings. Who could say anything? As for why they came, both sides were well aware. Of course, they came for Qin Wentian. The Emperor of Qianbian was too lazy to explain anything to the other party, and directly refused to see them. And Qin Wentian left the immortal Qianbian Gate. Evergreen Kingdom, Imperial Palace, Princess Chongping Residence. When Princess Chongping saw Qin Wentian and the others, a gentle smile appeared in her beautiful eyes. Little guy, you have made great progress since the opening of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Princess Chongping smiled. Princess, you are flattering me. I came to disturb you again today. Please forgive me, Princess. Qin Wentian bowed and said, It doesn't matter. Perhaps this imperial palace will be half your home in the future. You can come whenever you want. It's just that you arrived before Qing, or came back from her sect. Princess Chongping invited Qin Wentian into the residence as she spoke. 50 years ago, the Evergreen Kingdom Palace was surrounded by enemies from all sides. It was only because of the opening of the Tiandao Sacred Academy that there was peace for 50 years. Right now, the royal capital of the Evergreen Immortal Empire is no longer peaceful. You have arrived at the eye of the storm. I'm already involved. It's impossible for me to get out, Qin Wentian said, shaking his head. I'm very curious about what exactly has happened in the Sacred Academy. Perhaps you don't know, but a few days ago, my elder brother said that our Evergreen Kingdom might be facing an extremely dangerous situation. In fact, the danger might even surpass the civil war back then. Princess Chongping stared at the floating clouds in the air. She could faintly sense the storm that was brewing beneath the calm skies. The various major powers of the Immortal Realms were keeping a close watch on their capital cities. Princess Chongping knew that right now, there were many immortal kings in the royal capital. Also, all of them came from different powers. Some things are destined to happen. It's unavoidable. Qin Wentian thought back to the 50 years he spent in the Sacred Academy. It felt like a dream. These 50 years, regardless of whether it was for him or Qing, were extremely important. They had experienced a baptism. What needs to be faced has to be faced eventually. No matter who wants to touch my Evergreen Kingdom, they have to be prepared to pay the price. Let's see who dares to disregard the price and act against my Evergreen Kingdom. Princess Chongping's eyes suddenly turned sharp. Although she was a female, the might of an immortal king could be felt from her. Wentian, during these few days, just rest in my residence. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. In the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms, there was an extremely ancient mountain range. The scenery here was extremely beautiful, with immortal mountains all around. The immortal qi here was extremely dense, and at the peak of each mountain, there were all immortal residences. On an ancient peak in the center, the scenery was extremely beautiful. A group of maidens stood on a stone platform at the edge of the peak, staring at the scenery in the distance. Qing, the experts from the various major powers have arrived in the Evergreen Kingdom. Qin Wentian has also received the news, and has already arrived at Princess Chongping's residence. A maiden walked over and spoke to Qing. Thank you, senior sister. Qing replied in a light voice. You can head there first. If anything happens, we will immediately teleport to the royal palace through the teleportation array. Qing nodded. In an ancient palace of the Namhuang clan, Nanfeng Guhong sat there as someone came to make a report. The teleportation array leading to the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate is already in place. Right now, there are several immortal kings from the Supreme Sword School monitoring the situation at the immortal Qianbian Gate. Qin Wentian has gone to the Evergreen Kingdom, and the various major powers will also choose to descend to the Evergreen Kingdom. That person below reported. So it turned out that before this, there were experts from the Namhuang clan who contacted the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate. Both sides came to a temporary agreement, allowing the Namhuang clan to directly construct a spatial tunnel leading to the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate. Such a spatial tunnel was impossible to be constructed by non-allied powers. One must know that the moment it was constructed, the army of the Namhuang clan could instantly descend to the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate. If they had evil intentions, how terrifying would that be? But at this critical moment, the Evergreen Kingdom and the immortal Qianbian Gate actually agreed without any hesitation. Got it. Nanfeng Guhong nodded lightly. Her beautiful eyes flashed with an amused smile as she spoke in a low voice. Because of a few little fellows, all the major powers of the Immortal Realms were mobilized. This matter can be considered unprecedented. Leaving aside these peak powers that were constantly paying attention to the situation in the Evergreen Kingdom, even the people in the Evergreen Kingdom could feel the unusual atmosphere in the royal capital. During these days, extremely terrifying characters would often appear in groups. They would appear in groups, and there would be many immortal kings gathered together. In a place like the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, it wasn't strange to see immortal kings. But it was extremely rare for a group of immortal kings to move out. Even in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, there weren't many such powers. And now, there was news circulating around the Evergreen Kingdom that there were at least 4 to 5 such situations. In addition, They didn't seem to be concealing their tracks, because everyone understood that the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was the core of the Evergreen Kingdom. It was the territory of the Evergreen Kingdom. When a large number of experts entered the royal capital, their movements would already be known. There was basically no way to hide it. At this moment, it was unknown how many people in the dark were watching their every move. This undercurrent was surging in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Qing had also returned from the mountain gate and gathered with Qin Wentian. On this day, the vast and boundless royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was bathed in the warm sunlight. The bright weather put everyone in a good mood. Not far away from the royal palace, in the air, a group of experts suddenly flew over. They were currently flying towards the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. At this moment, countless people raised their heads and looked at the mighty figures. Was the surging undercurrent finally going to erupt? These experts advanced in the void. In another direction, there was also a mighty group of experts who began to rush towards the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Not only in one place, but in other places. Those forces that were quietly waiting in the royal capital, at this moment, seemed to have received a military order as they marched in the direction of the royal capital in an orderly manner. Finally, the first batch of experts arrived. A voice rang out within the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is here to welcome the two princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom back to my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom for their wedding. The voice rumbled and spread to every corner of the city. It even continued to spread towards the Imperial City. Back then, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom made use of the agreement they signed with the defeated powers to request the two princesses, Qing, and Azure, to marry into the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. The Evergreen Kingdom didn't agree, and a battle even broke out in the royal capital. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom initiated an immortal adjudication. The various peak powers of the eastern regions, Ziti, the Supreme Sword School, the Celestial Palace and the Taihua Immortal Dynasty all agreed to the adjudication, confirming that the agreement back then was valid. However, how could the Evergreen Kingdom agree? At that time, the Chongqing the Great summoned the Tiandao Sacred Academy, causing the entire immortal realms to tremble. The adjudication was temporarily set aside and now, it was said that the Immortal Foundation characters who entered the Sacred Academy have already walked out from the Sacred Academy. Also, a soul-stirring battle occurred within the Sacred Academy. These geniuses who walked out from the Sacred Academy, after countless years, how many of them would still be alive? How many of them would be able to reach the peak? Most probably, the number of them could be counted on one's fingers. The immortal realms were extremely cruel. If one wanted to climb to the peak, they either had to stand on a mountain of corpses and become a legend, or become a corpse under the feet of others. This was the fate of geniuses. Within the Evergreen Kingdom, numerous experts soared in the air, staring at the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom who were outside the royal palace. This isn't the era of ancient emperors. Why would there be an adjudication? Everyone, it's better for you all to return to Sky Mist. A voice rang out. How could the Evergreen Kingdom possibly hand over the person? The opening of the Sacred Academy indicates that the era of ancient emperors has arrived. Everything indicates that the adjudication is valid. As one of the adjudicators, our Supreme Sword School requests the Evergreen Kingdom to hand over the person. Another voice rang out. We hope that the Chongqing the Great will hand over the person. The Evergreen Kingdom, please abide by the adjudication. From all directions, voices rang out one after another. Each voice represented a major power, causing the entire royal palace to tremble. At this instant, everyone understood that this time around, the major powers were going to act for Real. In the teleportation array region of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, beams of terrifying spatial light flashed as a group of experts appeared, stepping out. These experts were actually all females, exuding magnificence that could transcend the generations. GD's followers had arrived. In the Princess Chongping residence, Qin Wentian and Qing Er stood together. Although Qin Wentian's expression was calm, his heart was ice-cold. The major powers seemed to have chosen to act against the Evergreen Kingdom. They knew that if Qing Er was here, Qin Wentian would be here as well. Senior apprentice sisters have arrived. Qing Er spoke when she saw the intense light. "Mm." Qin Wentian nodded. A gust of wind blew as a group of extremely powerful disciples from GD's faction descended. They stared into the distance as one of the female disciples spoke. "The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wants my junior apprentice sister to marry someone of a lower status. Have you ever asked my master if he agreed to this? This matter is an agreement between my Sky Mist Immortal Empire and the Evergreen Immortal Empire. People of Matriarch G's sect, it's best if you don't interfere." A domineering voice rang out, filled with a sense of urgency. Today in the Evergreen Kingdom, the sky was clear and the wind blew. Chapter 12:23. The sky was clear, enveloping the Evergreen Imperial City. However, everyone in the city could feel the approaching hurricane. In the royal palace, many people fell silent when they heard the domineering reply. However, right at this moment, a dazzling light flashed as a figure stepped out. This figure exuded boundless magnificence. He was clad in azure robes, an emperor of the mortal world, Chongqing the Great. Many experts stared at the figure who appeared, only to see the Chongqing the Great walking in the air as he spoke. "Immortal adjudication? Forgive me, Evergreen, for my ignorance. May I ask everyone, which ancient emperor gave the order to initiate the adjudication?" As the sound of his voice rang out, no one replied. After all, even ordinary immortal emperors didn't have the qualifications to converse with the Chongqing the Great. The era of ancient emperors has already become a thing of the past. The adjudication is jointly initiated by all the major powers in the immortal realms. Evergreen, you broke the contract and violated the rules of the immortal realms. In the air, an incomparably terrifying figure appeared. This person seemed to have come from beyond the heavens. He was sitting on an incomparably fearsome elephant that resembled a divine elephant. Sky Mist Immortal Emperor. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor inclined his head and stared at the person who came. He smiled. To think that the matters of a junior would actually attract the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor to my Evergreen Immortal Empire. I wonder if I should feel honored? The adjudication is a major event in the immortal realms. Evergreen, since you didn't abide by it, we naturally have to make a trip here personally. Evergreen, you better not make a mistake. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor calmly spoke. His appearance caused everyone to understand that the severity of this matter was far greater than what they had imagined. Nobody knew what these supreme characters were thinking in their hearts. Maybe they really wanted to use this chance to consign the Evergreen Immortal Empire to eternal damnation. If the Evergreen Kingdom was destroyed, the vast territories and resources would all be plundered by the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the other neighboring countries. Their cultivation resources, as well as their powerful innate techniques and cultivation arts, would all be seized. The countless geniuses born in the Evergreen Kingdom would also be absorbed by them. When these powers truly had the confidence to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, no one would doubt their ruthlessness and wouldn't hesitate to act. This was the cruelty of the immortal realms. This opportunity undoubtedly gave the various forces several opportunities to join forces and deal with the Evergreen Kingdom. How many people have come? There's no need to hide, just come out. The Chongqing the Great raised his head and stared at the boundless sky. As the sound of his voice faded, numerous supreme figures appeared. Each of them was releasing an extremely terrifying aura. Tyrannical to the extreme. Supreme Sword Emperor. The Chongqing the Great looked at one of them. Beneath his feet were immortal swords. Wherever he was, that was the world of swords. Master of the Celestial Palace. The Chongqing the Great then looked at another person. This person was wearing a black robe, and his entire body was pitch black. However, his face was extremely young, and he looked to be in his 20s or 30s. He was extremely devilish. Immortal Emperor Taihua. He then glanced at another person. This person was clad in ancient emperor robes and exuded boundless might, unexcelled in the world, causing people in the world to not dare to look up to him. The appearance of these experts caused the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to feel suffocated. Although they had already greatly overestimated this matter, they didn't expect that Qing Er's wedding would cause such a violent storm. Brother Violet and Brother Dongxing are here as well? The Evergreen Kingdom stared at the other two figures. They were none other than Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor. Wise brother Evergreen, this time around, you didn't abide by the ruling of the immortal realms. You shouldn't have done so. If you are willing to hand the person over, everything will naturally calm down. Zidi spoke. Dongxing Heaven Emperor nodded his head lightly, but when he glanced at Qin Wentian in the crowd, his eyes flickered with coldness. An immortal emperor would have such a deep obsession with immortal foundation characters. This could be considered a strange matter. He initially didn't wish to be embroiled in this storm. After all, his relationship with the Evergreen Kingdom wasn't bad on the surface. However, the immortal Qianbian Gate would also be embroiled in this. With the entire eastern regions in chaos, it would be extremely difficult for his Dongshengshan Gate to remain unscathed. Hence, he could only choose a side. Without a doubt, he chose the side of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. In the face of life and death, friendship wasn't even worth mentioning. What do the two of you mean? Chongqing the Great glanced in two other directions. Two more immortal emperors had arrived. One of them exuded a towering demonic qi, while the other exuded a supreme human emperor. Just here to watch the show. That supreme human emperor laughed. As for what he said, who would believe him? These two were none other than the powerful existences of the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the White Tiger people. Their participation was also the catalyst for today's events. A grudge between juniors in the Sacred Academy. 2 immortal emperors actually want to settle it with juniors in the outside world? What a joke. Chongqing the Great stared at the 2 immortal emperors as he spoke. How could he not know where they came from? Evergreen, just hand the 2 of them over. Why must you gamble the entire Evergreen Kingdom on 2 juniors? The Violet Emperor seemed to be persuading them with kind words. The 2 people he was talking about, everyone naturally knew who they were. The daughter of Chongqing the Great, Qing Er, as well as Qin Wentian of the immortal Qianbian Gate. The 2 of them were currently standing together, inclining their heads as they stared at the immortal emperors of the various powers. The reason you want me to hand over my daughter is because of the contract. In that case, what's the reason for you to hand over Qin Wentian? Is it because many of your juniors were killed in the Sacred Academy? Chongqing the Great calmly spoke. Do you still not understand? Given the current situation, why is there a need for a reason? Zidi's voice rang out as a surge of coldness engulfed the entire space. That's right, given the current situation. Why would there be a need for a reason? Strength was the reason. A powerful light radiated from the imperial palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. Terrifying spatial fluctuations shot up into the clouds. The gazes of everyone turned over only to see several powerful figures walking over. We pay our respects to Master. GD's followers all bowed to a female. This female's robes weren't extravagant, yet she exuded a sense of nobility. Her robe seemed to be formed from spatial energy, and her entire body exuded a terrifying light. Her gaze was extremely imposing, and when her gaze swept past the experts in the air, it was like a sharp blade slicing through the void. I truly want to see who wants to bring my disciple away today. This female was none other than GD. Master. Qing Er's silhouette flashed as she appeared before GD and bowed. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. Her matter actually caused her master to personally come here. Even the beasts of the White Tiger people dare to come here? It serves you right that those beasts of the White Tiger people were roasted alive. I didn't settle the debt with you guys, but you actually dared to come here to seek revenge from a junior? GD turned her gaze to the White Tiger Immortal Emperor, before turning to the immortal emperors of the 9 Emperors' immortal state. The 9 Emperors' immortal state is a peak power of the central regions, and has existed for countless years. Isn't it shameful for you to come here to interrogate a junior? GD's words weren't polite at all. The moment she appeared, she directly questioned the 2 immortal emperors. The baleful aura from the White Tiger Immortal Emperor soared upwards, terrifying to the extreme. This woman actually dared to humiliate him, the White Tiger people. Emperor Lord. Qin Wentian bowed to another group of experts. This person was none other than the Emperor Lord of Qianbian. Does GD and the immortal Qianbian Gate want to be implicated as well? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor questioned. You aren't qualified to speak to me. GD glanced at the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor impolitely, her words causing the expression of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor to change. In truth, he, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, could only be considered a junior in front of GD. Also, in terms of cultivation base, there was still a great disparity between him and GD. GD was the same as ZD, a peak stage Immortal Emperor. In addition, GD was even more ancient compared to ZD. She had nurtured countless powerful disciples, and there were even a few Immortal Emperor-ranked disciples among them. She was truly terrifying. Although she didn't have any thoughts of ruling the endless territories, there was no need to doubt GD's influence in the eastern regions. GD, the outcome of the adjudication isn't something you can change with your strength alone. ZD stood there arrogantly, staring at GD as he spoke. Don't forget that this place belongs to me, the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. The Chongqing the Great spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the entire royal palace flashed with an incomparably resplendent light. This terrifying light seemed as though it wanted to pierce through the sky. In the direction of the Emperor Palace, an ancient evergreen tree soared up into the sky, radiating green light in all directions as branches and leaves spread out unceasingly. Rustling sounds rang out unceasingly. In just a short instant, this terrifying ancient tree had already enveloped the entire royal palace, and was even moving towards the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. A distance of tens of millions of miles was instantly covered by the branches. The experts from the Evergreen Kingdom Palace trembled as they stared at this scene. It was too shocking. They saw the ancient tree towering up into the sky, shooting up into the clouds. Countless branches and leaves continued to extend into the distance, wanting to envelop the entire royal capital. A miraculous scene appeared in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. The divine elephant that the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor was sitting on let out trumpeting sounds, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Boundless energy cascaded downwards, akin to meteors falling from the sky, slamming into the light screen of the ancient tree. After that, the energy was directly absorbed and destroyed. Boundless starlight shone in the sky. At this moment, boundless starlight sprinkled down and intertwined with the ancient tree, the evergreen tree. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor had a heavy expression on his face when he saw this. Why was the Evergreen Kingdom a peak power? They naturally had the foundations of a peak power. Indeed, fighting in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was extremely disadvantageous to them. Similarly, if the battlefield was in their Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, it would be the same as well. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the shocking scene. It was unknown how much bigger a leaf was compared to him. This tree was like an ancient tree that reached the heavens, protecting the royal palace and the royal capital. The Namhuang clan has the phoenix ancestor in their ancestral land, and the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom has the evergreen tree. It seems like every ancient peak power has an unshakable foundation and capital. Qin Wentian silently mused. Chapter 1224. The Chongqing the Great stood beside the trunk of the ancient tree. The terrifying light shone on him, as though he would fuse with it at any moment. This eternal evergreen tree was a supreme treasure of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. Only the Evergreen Immortal Emperor would be able to control the eternal evergreen tree, and even fuse with it, unleashing terrifying power. Although the Chongqing the Great was still a step away from the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, if he fused with the evergreen tree, the combat prowess he could unleash might even be more terrifying compared to ordinary peak stage Immortal Emperors. He was a spiritual body, and also an emperor-ranked weapon. The guardian tree of the Evergreen Kingdom, evergreen never withering. Why did the civil war break out back then? Why did the position of the Chongqing the Great cause brothers to fight against each other? Whoever ascended to this position would be able to control the evergreen tree and become the strongest expert in the Evergreen Kingdom, or even one of the strongest existences in the eastern regions. Who wouldn't covet such a position? Who wants to fight? The Chongqing the Great spoke. In the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, he was the master. Evergreen, stop being so stubborn. I want you to abide by the contract and actually unleash the power of the evergreen tree for battle. Do you think we didn't come here prepared? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor continued. Although the eternal evergreen tree gave him a fearsome pressure, how could they not have made sufficient preparations before coming here as a group? This was a wasted trip. Paragon Sword Emperor, your sword is said to be invincible. Why don't you test out the defense of the eternal evergreen tree and see if it's really as the legends say, evergreen and undying? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor stared at the Paragon Sword Emperor as he spoke. The Paragon Sword Emperor nodded lightly. His eyes were like swords, and with a single glance, boundless sword intent descended from the heavens. He stepped out and waved his hand. In an instant, a paragon sword that absorbed the essence of the sun, moon, and stars appeared. As the sword appeared, its light seemed to transcend the past and present. All the experts in the boundless region below instantly closed their eyes. This sword was named Paragon Sword. Paragon Sword, ordinary people could only look up to it. This was the sword of a king. Boundless astral light cascaded down from the sky, landing on the Paragon Sword Emperor and the Paragon Sword. The Paragon Sword Emperor and the Paragon Sword shone together, borrowing the power of the heavens to shine with the astral light. The eternal evergreen tree continued to expand, enveloping the entire imperial palace beneath it. In a battle between emperors, if both sides didn't control their attacks, they might be able to destroy the heavens and earth. A single battle could raise an entire city to flat ground. This place was the royal capital of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. As the ruler of the empire, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor naturally had to protect the people here. Qin Wentian, Qing'er and the others in the royal palace were like the countless experts in the royal capital. All of them were protected under the radiance of the eternal evergreen tree. For those who stood above the tree, only immortal emperors had the qualifications to participate in this battle. Cultivating, the higher one's cultivation base is, the more they would be able to borrow boundless might to unleash destructive might. Qin Wentian stared at the sky. On his journey here, there was no doubt that this point was proven. At the start, when one's cultivation base increased, the change in destructive might wouldn't be too great. But when one became a peak-level expert, the increase in their cultivation base would be extremely terrifying. Back then, the Chongqing the Great once reminded himself that the reason why he was still alive was because Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor couldn't let go of their pride. If not, he would already be dead. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian didn't doubt it at all. It was too easy for an immortal emperor to kill an immortal foundation expert. Naturally, if Eastern Sage wanted him dead, Emperor Qianbian could also cause the Dongshengshan Gate to suffer a calamity. This was the true reason why both sides were restricted. As for Zidi, Zi Daoyang was killed by Wuxia while Zi Yunwu was killed by Di Tian. Nobody knew that it was him. Hence, the killing intent towards him wasn't strong enough. One day, if Eastern Sage and Zidi discovered the threat he posed, they would definitely kill him without hesitation. Upon thinking of this, Qin Wentian's thirst for power grew even more intense. Up in the air, the Paragon Sword Emperor formed hand seals as boundless starlight cascaded down on his body. Numerous sharp swords that resembled stars descended from the heavens. Each and every one of these sharp swords shone with a starlight that could pierce through the heavens. With a single glance, one could feel how terrifying these swords were. And at this instant, the entire sky was filled with these swords. They were like constellations as they slowly descended from the heavens. Kill! The Paragon Sword Emperor waved his hand. The Paragon Sword was like the lord of all swords. The countless swords that could kill everything in the world suddenly sped up and descended from the sky like a meteor. In an instant, they smashed down. This scene was like a scene of destruction. The immortal emperors all had halos revolving around them. However, they didn't have any intense reactions. After all, the target of the Paragon Sword Emperor wasn't them. It was the eternal evergreen tree. Swish, the ancient tree moved, growing even faster than the swords. Countless branches extended outwards, instantly enveloping the Paragon Sword Emperor within. Incomparably complicated runes of light erupted forth from the countless branches. These countless branches actually radiated the power of innate techniques, akin to the law energy of the great Tao of heaven and earth. A scene of boundless destruction appeared in the air. The branches and the swords clashed against each other. under the might of the Paragon Sword Emperor. Even the heavens and earth seemed to be on the verge of shattering. The branches sliced through the air, exuding a destructive light that caused the entire space to shatter. Go. The Paragon Sword Emperor's expression didn't change. With a wave of his hand, the Paragon Sword appeared in the air, causing the heavens and earth to tremble unceasingly. In the starry sky, boundless light cascaded downwards. In an instant, a rain of swords appeared, even more rapid and sharper than a meteor shower. Under such a rain of swords, an entire city was instantly razed to the ground. The sky seemed to be filled with a raging tempest. The speed of the swords was simply too fast, so fast that only after the swords sliced through the air did the sounds of swords echo out. The eternal evergreen tree shone with a resplendent light. Countless branches and leaves covered the sky as a river of stars manifested in the air. The boundless sword might rain down. All of them were absorbed into the river of stars. After that, the entire area started to be destroyed. Occasionally, there would be sharp swords that pierced through the river of swords, continuing their way towards the ancient tree. However, they were all destroyed by the branches. Stepping out, the Paragon Sword Emperor's silhouette appeared in the air above the river of stars. Countless ancient sword characters floated around him, imprinting themselves onto the Paragon Sword. The sword whistled, causing the heavens and earth to shatter. The Paragon Sword Emperor slashed down, aiming for the river of stars. A thunderous sound rang out. It was as though the sky had crumbled apart. The Paragon Sword Emperor continued to slash down, wanting to destroy the eternal evergreen tree. The body of the Chongqing the Great seemed to have fused into the ancient tree. His body erupted with an incomparably resplendent light, as the gigantic eternal evergreen tree radiated a refreshing green color. For a time, the entire sky and earth transformed into the color of life. This kind of green color covered the entire sky. Boom! The Paragon Sword pierced into the main trunk of the eternal evergreen tree, slicing through everything, wanting to shatter it. Millions upon millions of swords rained down, destroying everything under the might of this sword. The green light illuminated the entire city as the land of destruction instantly regenerated. A terrifying destructive force obstructed the advance of the Paragon Sword Emperor. The entire tree was filled with the light of destruction and rebirth. The gazes of the crowd stared at the center of the tree. The Paragon Sword Emperor had his eyes closed as a supreme sword might gushed forth from him. However, that tree was simply too powerful. It was basically an undying trunk that could be reborn from destruction. Boundless energy gushed forth, wanting to trap the Paragon Sword Emperor within. Eternal evergreen, never to wither. When everyone thought of this sentence, their hearts trembled. If they couldn't find the weakness of the eternal evergreen tree, even a supreme weapon like the Paragon Sword Emperor wouldn't be able to destroy it. This was an undying ancient tree, an evergreen tree. Countless vines grew and multiplied endlessly, locking the Paragon Sword Emperor within. Sword intent that could pierce through the heavens erupted forth. Yet it was unable to destroy the eternal evergreen tree. The Paragon Sword Emperor furrowed his brows. After that, he pointed his finger forward as the Paragon Sword instantly returned to its original position. Swish! As soon as the Paragon Sword returned, numerous vines manifested. Boundless green light radiated forth, transforming into a heaven-piercing green branch that slashed through the air. At this instant, the countenance of the Paragon Sword Emperor drastically changed. A dazzling sword light radiated forth as the Paragon Sword Emperor directly vanished from his original location. However, when the jade green light slashed down, a supreme destructive might manifested. The entire sky seemed to be torn apart as a terrifying black fissure appeared. Bang! From afar, the sword light of the Paragon Sword Emperor clashed against the black fissure, and was forced back by the impact. But very swiftly after, he stepped out and stood in the air, coldly staring down at the eternal evergreen tree. Evidently, he was the weaker party in this confrontation. He basically had no way to shake the eternal evergreen tree. A towering might suddenly gushed forth from the sky-mist immortal emperor. The divine elephant he was sitting on turned golden as numerous constellations in the sky seemed to be summoned. From the body of the divine elephant, a terrifying aura gushed forth. Beneath the feet of the Taihua Immortal Emperor, an emperor painting appeared behind him. This painting was also a supremely terrifying emperor-ranked weapon. Within this painting, there were countless war chariots as well as thousands of soldiers and horses, exuding a terrifying aura that could destroy everything. From the emperor-ranked weapon, the sound of tsunamis could be heard. These war chariots and soldiers seemed to be alive. An emperor-ranked battle? Qin Wentian stared at the immortal emperors in the air. Such a situation was also something he didn't expect. In the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, another bright light flashed. Nanfeng Guhong and the other experts from the Namhuang clan arrived. 3 immortal emperors directly passed through the light screen of the eternal evergreen tree. The Chongqing the Great naturally wouldn't allow the light screen to obstruct them. The Namhuang clan also wants to participate in the adjudication battle? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor furrowed his brows. In the Sacred Academy, Qin Wentian, the Namhuang clan and the daughter of the Chongqing the Great are allies. If the White Tiger people and the 9 Emperors Immortal State want to settle the grudges in the Sacred Academy, please leave now. Nanfeng Guhong spoke with cold arrogance. What arrogant words! The baleful aura of the White Tiger Demon Emperor was terrifying. My Namhuang clan has already opened a spatial passageway to the royal palace. Even if we want to keep you here, it shouldn't be too difficult. Do you want to try? Nanfeng Guhong turned her gaze over, staring at the White Tiger Demon Emperor. Chapter 1225. Nanfeng Guhong's words caused the expressions of the experts in the air to change. The Namhuang clan was one of the 3 ancient clans of the southern regions. They had existed for countless years, and had extremely deep foundations. If the Namhuang clan fully supported the Evergreen Kingdom and opened up a spatial tunnel, there was no doubt that this battle would be extremely disadvantageous to them. In fact, just like what Nanfeng Guhong said, it wasn't impossible to make the White Tiger Demon Emperor stay here. I truly want to see how you guys can make me stay here. The White Tiger Demon Emperor let out a low roar as he transformed into an incomparably gigantic white tiger. At this instant, the entire space was filled with towering baleful might. Seems like there's no way to settle things peacefully today. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor coldly spoke. In truth, the current situation was something the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor didn't expect. The White Tiger people and the 9 Emperors Immortal State didn't seek revenge because of the strength of the Namhuang clan. Instead, they came to the Evergreen Kingdom and formed an alliance with them, preparing to conquer the Evergreen Kingdom in one fell swoop. That's right, conquer. Before this, they didn't have such a crazy idea. This was also a coincidence. They saw their alliance growing stronger and stronger, hence, they had this idea. In their estimation, Eastern Sage could deal with the Emperor Qianbian, Zidi could deal with GD, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor and the Paragon Sword Emperor could join forces to restrict the Chongqing the Great who was borrowing the power of the Evergreen Tree. If they couldn't, they could add in the Taihua Immortal Emperor. Other than this, they still had the Celestial Palace Lord, the White Tiger Demon Emperor, and the Immortal Emperors of the 9 Emperors Immortal State. These people, in addition to the other Immortal Emperors, were more than enough to sweep through the Evergreen Kingdom. If they were willing to pay a price, they might even be able to kill the Chongqing the Great. Once they succeeded, the benefits would be immense. The Supreme Treasure, the Eternal Evergreen Tree, the other Monarch weapons, the treasuries of the Evergreen Kingdom contained all the innate techniques and treasures of the Evergreen Kingdom, and the terrifying resources and treasures of the kingdom. They would be able to swallow up this boundlessly vast immortal kingdom. As for the fused Qin Wentian and Qing, they were actually secondary. It was just that they were the reason the Immortal Emperor Alliance was formed. When the real war broke out, they didn't seem that important. No matter who took them down, their fates were obvious. If not, with just 2 juniors at the Immortal Foundation realm, how could an Emperor-ranked battle of this level be triggered? On the other hand, it didn't matter even if they didn't take it down. The Evergreen Kingdom didn't have the capital to retaliate. At most, they would become enemies with each other. Unless the Chongqing the Great was strong enough to destroy them one day, they could only swallow their anger. Thus this battle of emperors was triggered. Now that an emperor battle had erupted, how could they be made to retreat with just a few words? Make your move. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke. The astral light from the constellations cascaded down on him. He seemed to be sitting on a divine elephant as he blasted out a punch downwards. Countless motes of light shot towards the boundless earth, each of them transforming into a 10,000-meter tall gigantic elephant that smashed towards the eternal evergreen tree. Swishing sounds rang out. The vines of the evergreen tree wriggled, blotting out the sky as they shot towards the divine elephants. The body of the Chongqing the Great has already fused with the evergreen tree. A pair of demonic eyes appeared on the trunk of the tree. The Paragon Sword Emperor descended once more. At this moment, the Paragon Sword floated behind him as boundless sword light radiated outwards. Boundless runes of light appeared, resembling the runes of the starry skies. Numerous Paragon Swords manifested from the runes, and as the Paragon Sword Emperor pointed his finger downwards, the evergreen tree below began to explode. The branches of the ancient tree were directly severed as thunderous booms shook the heavens and earth. Rumble! The gigantic body of the White Tiger Demon Emperor rushed towards Nanfeng Guhong. Nanfeng Guhong stretched out her slender hand as a phoenix spear with towering flames appeared in it. At this instant, an incomparably gigantic ancient phoenix appeared. Light cascaded down from the skies, intertwining with the spear as they transformed into a beam of fiery light that shot up into the sky. Nanfeng Guhong stepped out and pierced out with her spear, penetrating through the heavens. The White Tiger Demon Emperor let out a heaven-shaking roar of rage. An incomparably powerful Demon Emperor armor appeared on his body. At this moment he transformed into a true Tiger King. GD's silhouette flashed as spatial light flashed. She directly appeared in the air. ZD also soared up into the air, following in the direction of GD. The two peak stage immortal emperors also wanted to test each other's strength. Dongxing Heaven Emperor flew towards Emperor Qianbian. The two of them had fought to a draw before. Now that they met again, they naturally had to fight again. Immortal Emperor Taihua glanced at the battlefield. From the Emperor diagram behind him, an army of thousands and thousands of soldiers rushed out. The Emperor war chariots directly smashed downwards, crushing all the vines that shot over. The army of thousands and thousands of soldiers rushed towards the evergreen tree, wanting to destroy it no matter what. Deal with the evergreen tree first. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor transmitted his voice to everyone. The people from the Celestial Palace also moved, rushing towards the evergreen tree. The immortal emperors under GD, the Namhuang clan, as well as the other immortal emperors from the other major powers all rushed towards the evergreen tree. In an instant, the battlefield opened up in the air, radiating out to the entire royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Under the protection of the evergreen tree, everyone inclined their heads and stared at the battle between immortal emperors as their hearts pounded madly. That immortal emperor from the 9 emperors' immortal state still stood there. He stared at the battlefield as a cold smile appeared in his eyes. Chongqing the Great, who was borrowing the power of the evergreen tree, was currently being surrounded by 4 powerful experts using emperor-ranked weapons. He had no time to be distracted. He stepped out and moved towards the evergreen tree below. The tree branch shot over, slicing through the air as destructive light radiated forth. However, this immortal emperor was enveloped by the emperor's light. That destructive attack actually passed right through him. His body instantly reverted back to a corporeal state as he continued descending, directly landing on the light screen. Lowering his head, his gaze landed on Qin Wentian, and the others within the Evergreen Kingdom Palace as a cold smile appeared in his eyes. Qin Wentian inclined his head, and could see the cold smile on the immortal emperor's face. His expression changed slightly. If the immortal emperor broke through their defenses and captured him and given the current situation, Qin Wentian didn't doubt that the immortal emperor would directly bring them away. Stepping down, one of his feet passed through the light screen. At this moment, a beam of light appeared in the sky. This beam of light seemed to originate from the starry skies. The expression of that immortal emperor from the 9 emperors' immortal state instantly changed. He was locked onto by that beam of light. Boom! He didn't continue descending. His body directly soared up into the air, instantly appearing in the sky. That beam of light was like the starlight in the sky, descending in an instant, directly traversing through the void, crossing the heavens and earth. B. The immortal emperor from the 9 emperors' immortal state once again emitted a light of nothingness. His body seemed to be in nothingness. That beam of light descended and pierced into his body of nothingness, directly exploding. The entire sky and earth seemed to have exploded. Only then did the people below see clearly. This beam of light was actually an arrow missing, a cosmic arrow missing. The immortal emperor of the Ashi Sengoku kingdom? A thought appeared in the mind of the immortal emperor of the 9 emperors' immortal state. The terrifying destructive power dissipated, only to see him groaning in pain as blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. A single arrow actually injured an immortal emperor. What a terrifying arrow. Who is it? The immortal emperor of the 9 emperors' immortal state raised his head and looked at the sky. He could only sense a blurry figure standing in the starry sky, wrapped in endless starlight, holding a sun-shooting bow in his hand. If this arrow is used against the geniuses of your 9 emperors' immortal state, a single arrow would be enough to kill one of them. The voice in the air rang out, echoing throughout the world. As an immortal emperor, I still have the pride of an immortal emperor. If anyone dares to act against the juniors again, I truly want to see how many of your descendants would be killed by my arrow. The expressions of the immortal emperors who were in combat all changed. The Chongqing the Great actually still had reinforcements in the dark? It seemed that the other immortal emperor of the Evergreen Kingdom, the White Emperor, had yet to appear. The White Emperor was rumored to be a powerful existence that assisted the Chongqing the Great in his ascension. Where was he right now? Where was the White Emperor? In the eastern prefecture of the 13 prefectures, at the Dongshengshan Gate. The immortal sect was extremely quiet, just like how it was in the past. However, many people were concerned about the upcoming battle against the Evergreen Kingdom. This time around, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor personally went to participate in the battle. No one knew what the ending would be. However, at this moment, outside the majestic Dongshengshan Gate, a figure clad in white leisurely walked over. He entered the Dongshengshan Gate with his hands behind his back, but his eyes were fixed on the boundless starry space. Sir, please wait a moment. Numerous powerful auras gushed forth from the Dongshengshan Gate as experts soared up into the air. However, the white-robed figure directly transformed into a phantom, vanishing before their eyes as he continued on his way towards the inner regions of the Dongshengshan Gate. The tyrannical auras of the immortal kings gushed forth as a group of experts soared up into the air, surrounding the white-robed young man in the center as their auras gushed forth. Senior, why did you come to our Dongshengshan Gate? An expert asked. The white-robed figure turned his gaze onto everyone as he asked, where is the Dongxing Heaven Emperor? His Majesty has some matters to attend to, and is currently heading to the Evergreen Kingdom. If Senior wishes to meet with His Majesty, I'll have to trouble you to wait in the immortal sect. Everyone knew that the white-robed figure before them was unfathomable. They didn't dare to show any disrespect. Eastern Sage, why did you head to the Evergreen Kingdom? The voice of the white-robed figure was as calm as ever, with no fluctuations at all. The experts wanted to say something but hesitated. Let me tell you guys. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor is heading to the Evergreen Kingdom with the intention of destroying the Evergreen Kingdom. The white-robed figure slowly spoke, his words causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. This is the matter of His Majesty. We don't dare to question him. It's just that why did Senior come to our immortal sect to look for His Majesty? An expert probed. What's the matter? The white-robed figure stared at the horizons as he mumbled. The Eastern Sage alliance with the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the other major powers, wanting to divide the Evergreen Kingdom among themselves. Right now, he should be attacking the Evergreen Kingdom. Hence, I'm here at the Dongshengshan Gate. Senior, who exactly are you? Everyone already felt that something was wrong, and a sense of unease arose in their hearts. The White Emperor. The white-robed figure retracted his gaze. At this instant, a terrifying light erupted forth from his eyes, causing the countenances of the people in the surroundings to turn ashen. Chapter 1226. White Emperor. As the sound of the white-robed figure faded, the Dongshengshan Gate fell into silence. The atmosphere was extremely stifling. The White Emperor, one of the two emperors of the Evergreen Kingdom, had arrived at their Dongshengshan Gate. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor headed to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to participate in the encirclement. The Evergreen Kingdom was in a precarious situation, yet the White Emperor actually chose to abandon the Evergreen Kingdom and came to their Dongshengshan Gate. Although their Dongshengshan Gate still had immortal emperors guarding it, this was none other than the White Emperor. As for the mysterious and unfathomable White Emperor, nobody knew what level of cultivation base he had reached. Nobody knew how strong he was, but since he was able to assist the Evergreen Immortal Emperor in ascending to the throne, his strength clearly wasn't something ordinary immortal emperors could compare to. Senior White Emperor, I wonder why you came to our Dongshengshan Gate. Although his heart was trembling, an immortal king still suppressed the fear in his heart as he bowed. The white robes of the White Emperor fluttered in the wind as he stepped out. He didn't say anything more. Before this, he had already said that the Dongxing Heaven Emperor was currently in the Evergreen Kingdom and wanted to aid the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor in destroying the Evergreen Kingdom. Hence, he came to the Dongshengshan Gate. In that case, no matter what he came here for, it was only natural. This step of his soared through the air. The immortal king stared at him, not daring to obstruct him. Who could obstruct the White Emperor? Up ahead, a few towering auras erupted forth as two experts appeared. One of them even unleashed a monarch's might. The four paragons under the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had once followed the Dongxing Heaven Emperor to conquer the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures. They were mysterious and unfathomable. It was rare to see one of them. But right now two paragons actually appeared in the Immortal Gate. The White Emperor acted as though he didn't see them at all. He soared through the air and in the starry sky, beams of light cascaded downwards as a destructive tempest manifested. The entire Eastern Sage Immortal sect started to be torn apart. Numerous palaces were swept into the tempest and shattered into pieces. A storm swept up the entire palace. Emperor Bai extended his hand, and the entire palace was sucked into his sleeve by a terrifying suction force. Senior White Emperor, what are you doing? That immortal emperor was like an ancient god, radiating a terrifying destructive might. Move the celestial gate. Emperor Bai said softly. He was calm as if he was talking about something normal. As he moved forward, the storm below became more and more terrifying. As he moved forward, the main palaces were uprooted one after another. The powerful matrices were directly destroyed. Then the entire celestial palace was sucked into his sleeve. He was actually going to move the celestial gate away. Sadly, the Emperor Palace of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor isn't located here. The White Emperor spoke in a light voice. Usually, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor wouldn't be in the Dongshengshan Gate. He was a transcendent existence, allowing the Dongshengshan Gate to govern the 13 prefectures for him. But even so, within the Dongshengshan Gate that governed the 13 prefectures, it was unknown how many cultivation resources the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had. In addition, this was the place where the Celestial Palace governed the 7 prefectures. Yet this place was being destroyed wantonly. The White Emperor even walked to the center of the 2 paragons, completely ignoring them. He continued to sweep up palace after palace, wanting to move the entire celestial gate away. Senior, you are going too far. That immortal king had an extremely ugly expression on his face. His silhouette flashed as he moved towards the White Emperor. The white robes of the White Emperor fluttered in the wind. With a wave of his left sleeve, that immortal king froze in his original location. His entire body was enveloped by a terrifying light as his body trembled violently, as though he had just experienced the most terrifying thing in the world. No. A loud roar rang out. His body actually disintegrated bit by bit along with the light screen, and then disappeared without a trace. A supreme being, an extremely powerful immortal king existence, was turned into dust just like that with a wave of his hand. The immortal emperor at the side turned pale. He stared at the vanishing figure as a look of sorrow and anger appeared on his face. His blood-red eyes of destruction stared at the White Emperor, wanting nothing more than to kill the White Emperor on the spot. However, He also understood that with the power of Emperor Bai's wave, he was not Emperor Bai's opponent at all. The difference in power between the two was huge. But Emperor Bai did not seem to see him at all. He walked past him and continued walking. The storm continued. In the land of the eastern state, countless figures looked in the direction of the Dongshangshan Gate. Looking at the storm, their hearts were in turmoil. This storm descended from the starry space, sweeping forward until the entire Dongshangshan Gate was engulfed within it. This scene could be said to be the scene of doomsday. The Dongshangshan Gate was raised to flat ground. Immediately inform Eastern Sage. Tell him to retreat from the battlefield immediately. The White Emperor spoke in a light voice. His tone was devoid of emotions. No one knew if he was happy or angry. That immortal emperor didn't dare to defy these calm words. Nobody knew what terrifying consequences there would be if they ignored this calm voice. Although the White Emperor had arrived, other than that immortal king earlier, he didn't kill anyone else. Clearly, he didn't come here to kill anyone. He also disdained to kill the people of the Dongshangshan Gate. He was the White Emperor and naturally had his own pride. He came here for two reasons. Firstly, to tell the Dongshangshan Gate that before they act, they should at least consider all the possible consequences. Secondly, it was to warn the major powers of the eastern regions. On the battlefield of the Evergreen Kingdom, the expression of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor suddenly changed, becoming extremely unsightly to behold. Brother Evergreen, what do you mean by this? The Dongxing Heaven Emperor stared at the trunk of the evergreen tree below. I'm not worthy. A cold voice replied. The White Emperor came to my Dongshangshan Gate. Isn't this a little despicable? The Dongxing Heaven Emperor coldly spoke, his words causing a strange expression to appear on the faces of everyone. No wonder the White Emperor didn't appear. He actually went to the Dongshangshan Gate. You don't feel that you are despicable, but you actually think that the White Emperor is despicable? Eastern Sage, today, you have truly made me look at you in a new light. The Chongqing the Great spoke. Scram, you are still not qualified to participate in this battle. The expression of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor turned ashen. The Chongqing the Great wanted him to scram from this battlefield, saying that he wasn't qualified to participate in this battle. During these years, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor was extremely unhappy. The immortal Qianbian Gate occupied 6 of his prefectures, causing him to lose all face. This time around, the White Emperor directly slaughtered his way into the Dongshangshan Gate, causing him to be humiliated once again. The arrow in the starry space as well as the words of the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor caused the battlefield to temporarily calm down. Sir, as an immortal emperor, why must you hide your head but show your tail? Using sneak attacks. The immortal emperor of the 9 emperors' immortal state inclined his head and stared at the sky. He was actually injured by a single arrow. From what he knew, only immortal emperors from the Ashi Sengoku Kingdom would be able to do such a thing. In the air, a figure radiating a resplendent light descended, shining as brightly as the constellations. At the instant they saw this figure, the expressions of Zidi and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor froze. They had met this person before. Not only for them, Nanfeng Guhong, and even Qin Wentian had met this person before. God Hand Mountain Manor, Emperor Yu. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a smile. He didn't expect that Emperor Yu would actually be paying attention to his movements. Clearly, it wasn't a coincidence that Emperor Yu appeared here today. Emperor Yu must have been paying attention to him. What are you doing here instead of staying at the God Hand Mountain Manor? Zidi stared coldly at Emperor Yu. The God Hand Mountain Manor has already disbanded. Today, I naturally came here to see if the successor of ancient Emperor Yi is doing well. Who would have thought that I would actually see an immortal emperor acting against an immortal foundation character? Emperor Yu calmly spoke. The immortal emperor of the 9 emperors' immortal state stared at Emperor Yu. This immortal emperor, who didn't seem to be famous in the immortal realms, was actually so powerful. At the very least, the power contained within that arrow caused him to feel an intense threat. Ancient Emperor Yi, Ancient Emperor Yi. Who are you to Ancient Emperor Yi? A follower of Ancient Emperor Yi. Emperor Yu laughed, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. A follower of an ancient emperor? He came here because of Qin Wentian, Zidi, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, Nanfeng Guhong and the others who had experienced the incident at the God Hand Mountain Manor back then were naturally clearer about this matter. What do you intend to do? The immortal emperor of the 9 emperors immortal state asked. Naturally, I'm inviting everyone to leave. Emperor Yu replied. The expressions of the immortal emperors were unkind. At the very beginning, they had an absolute advantage. But now, the situation was reversed bit by bit. Right now, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor was forced to retreat from the battlefield, and Emperor Yu actually came here to participate. In addition, the immortal Qianbian Gate, the Namhuang clan and Emperor Yu might have appeared because of Qin Wentian. They seem to have greatly underestimated the strength of this immortal foundation junior. If the armies of my 9 emperors immortal state arrive, the Evergreen Kingdom would surely be destroyed. The immortal emperor of the 9 emperors immortal state spoke with arrogance, filled with confidence. As a peak power in the central regions, the strength of the 9 emperors immortal state was much stronger compared to the major powers in the eastern regions. Because of the grudge between a junior from the Sacred Academy, the entire 9 emperors immortal state would be dragged into this? If that's the case, it would truly be a great joke. Emperor Yu calmly spoke. Although I'm not as powerful as ancient Emperor Yi in the past, it's still very easy for me to kill these juniors. I believe the Chongqing the Great, and the others would be the same as well. In that case, I would like to ask for guidance. How should we resolve this? The immortal emperor of the 9 emperors immortal state felt some reluctance in his heart. The major powers of the eastern regions came together to initiate an emperor-rank battle. If they were defeated, it would simply be a humiliation. I'm a follower of ancient Emperor Yi, and your eastern regions used the rules of the ancient emperor era to initiate the adjudication battle. In addition, a battle between juniors would ultimately have to be resolved by the juniors. Chongqing the Great, I suggest to initiate an adjudication battle with immortal foundation characters participating, deciding life and death. Emperor Yu solemnly spoke. Adjudication battle, deciding life and death, huh? The Chongqing the Great walked out from the eternal evergreen tree, staring at the immortal emperors in the air. Right now, the Sky Mist immortal emperor and the others all had expressions of reluctance on their faces. They understood that the purpose of the emperor-ranked battle today was all for naught. They wouldn't be able to take down the Evergreen Kingdom. From a certain perspective, not being able to take down the Evergreen Kingdom was already considered a defeat for them. Even if they won the adjudication battle, they would only be able to win the 2 princesses. This wasn't their true purpose. If the Evergreen Kingdom is defeated and the Chongqing the Great still refuses to comply with the adjudication rules, what should we do then? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor asked. Emperor Yu turned his gaze to the Chongqing the Great. This matter was truly difficult to resolve. If he initiated the adjudication battle, it meant that he would have to comply with the adjudication rules. If he lost, he would have to hand over the 2 princesses. Chapter 1227. The Chongqing the Great had a heavy expression on his face. By initiating the adjudication battle, it meant that he acknowledged the adjudication of the immortal realms. He was naturally unwilling to do so. However, the battles in the immortal realms were extremely cruel. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had a contract with the Evergreen Kingdom, and there was also the descendant of the traitor, who married into the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom back then, causing the major powers of the eastern regions to form an alliance to deal with the Evergreen Kingdom. They wanted to take advantage of their internal strife to cause the Evergreen Kingdom to collapse. The Evergreen Kingdom had experienced chaos for less than 100 years, but the revival of a major power required tens of thousands of years. The major powers of the eastern regions didn't want to miss out on this opportunity. As for those who stood on the side of the Evergreen Kingdom, other than GD who came because of Qing'er, the Emperor Qianbian, the Namhuang clan and Emperor Yu might have a closer relationship with Qin Wentian. If an emperor-ranked battle erupted, he didn't know how much strength the Namhuang clan would give. He, the Chongqing the Great, didn't have the qualifications to ask others to fight for him. All of this, the Chongqing the Great could naturally see it clearly. Since Emperor Yu is a follower of an ancient emperor, I want to ask if I agree to participate in the adjudication battle. What are the rules? The Chongqing the Great asked. Since this is an adjudication battle, let's choose the location. The Myriad Devil Islands shall be the location of the adjudication. Both sides will send 100 experts into the Myriad Devil Islands. They can use any methods they want, and the time limit is 10 years. The side with the most survivors shall be the victor. How about it? Emperor Yu spoke, his words causing the expressions of everyone to change. He actually chose the Myriad Devil Islands as the location? This was simply too ruthless. Naturally, only a place like the Myriad Devil Islands would be fair. Because no matter which location was chosen, these terrifying existences would be able to extend their hands into it. The only exception was the Myriad Devil Islands. That was a place where emperors of the immortal realms were forbidden from entering. Otherwise, it would be seen as an invasion. But for Immortal Foundation experts, things were different. In the immortal realms, there were some who would really head to the Myriad Devil Islands to temper themselves. The Myriad Devil Islands didn't reject ordinary Immortal Foundation experts. And in fact, there were many who turned into devils after entering, being recruited by the major powers of the Myriad Devil Islands, becoming disciples of the devil sects and cultivating devil arts. This was very normal. However, if they wanted to use the Myriad Devil Islands as the venue for the adjudication battle, it would undoubtedly be extremely risky. They had to be extremely careful when sending their subordinates in. Who would dare to send all their peak-level geniuses in? It was possible that once they entered, they would never be able to return. Their hands couldn't reach in, which meant that no matter which faction they came from, the demonic cultivators inside wouldn't care. Even if these disciples died inside, there was nothing they could do. Emperor Feather's suggestion was indeed ruthless. In addition, there was another layer of meaning in Emperor Feather's words. This was a competition between the peak powers. If they sent their descendants in, they might bring along terrifying divine weapons. But in a place like the Myriad Devil Islands, if you used divine weapons of that level, you would most probably die very quickly. Naturally, even if the Myriad Devil Islands were the venue for the adjudication battle, it wouldn't be absolutely fair. Both sides might even send immortal kings to aid them. Hence, this battle wasn't merely a competition between the 100 chosen. In truth, it was also a competition between both sides, to see who was more ruthless and whose methods were more powerful. Myriad Devil Islands. Chongqing the Great mumbled. At this moment a voice drifted over. Just accept it. The eyes of Chongqing the Great flashed. He stared below the eternal evergreen tree only to see Qing Er's beautiful eyes staring at him. That cold gaze of hers was filled with determination. Evidently Qing Er also knew how serious the emperor-ranked battle was. In truth, before they had the confidence to kill the other party, both sides would still hold back. For example, Evergreen's side might be able to kill an ordinary immortal emperor with a lower cultivation base. But once they did, they wouldn't be able to hold back anymore. Another example was the White Emperor. He killed his way into the Dong Shengshan Gate, but he didn't kill indiscriminately. It was only because there was an immortal king blocking his way that he killed one. If he killed indiscriminately and failed to destroy Eastern Sage, in the future, Eastern Sage's revenge would similarly cause the younger generations of the Evergreen Kingdom to suffer greatly. Chongqing the Great wasn't afraid. But what about Qing Er? Right now, the alliance of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had no way to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom. In that case, they had to suppress themselves and not make any reckless moves. Hence, both sides were considering Emperor Feather's suggestion. If the situation was one-sided, there was no need for them to consider the adjudication battle. At this moment, Emperor Feather transmitted his voice to Chongqing the Great. Chongqing the Great's eyes flashed before he understood. He inclined his head and stared at the air as he spoke. I accept. If we lose this adjudication battle, I'm willing to accept the result. The expression of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor froze. Chongqing the Great actually agreed to the adjudication battle. To them, this was also a difficult problem. If they accepted the adjudication battle, who should they send to the Myriad Devil Islands to participate? What about the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom? Emperor Feather turned his gaze over. staring at the sky-mist immortal emperor as he asked. If the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom doesn't agree to the adjudication battle, the adjudication battle would be meaningless. The Evergreen Kingdom can naturally choose not to comply. If that's the case, we can just continue to fight. Emperor Feather coldly spoke. A strong power would gain respect. If it wasn't for Emperor Feather injuring an immortal emperor with a single arrow, how would the other immortal emperors listen to him quietly? He most probably wouldn't even have the qualifications to express his opinion. Just like back then at the God Hand Mountain Manor. If Emperor Feather didn't display his strength, Zedi and Eastern Sage wouldn't care about his attitude. Fine. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor nodded, finally coming to a compromise. Their so-called alliance wasn't as stable as they imagined. The various major powers were all here for the sake of benefits. If an all-out war broke out, who knew which power would back out first? This time, their plan to plot against the Evergreen Kingdom failed. In that case, they could only wait for another opportunity and fight for victory in the adjudication battle. In that case, 3 months later, both sides shall bring 100 Immortal Foundation descendants to the entrance of the Myriad Devil Islands. Everyone, please return. Emperor Feather's voice was calm. All the immortal emperors glanced at him. From today onwards, most probably no one would dare to underestimate this immortal emperor from the God Hand Mountain Manor. His cultivation base might very well be very high. For people like Emperor Feather, there was no lack of them in the vast immortal realms. After all, in the endless river of time, who knew how many immortal emperors were still alive in a certain corner of the immortal realms? Maybe, a woodcutter you saw might be a character whose name shook the world countless years ago. Let's go. It was meaningless to continue staying here. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor waved his hand as a divine elephant trumpeted and soared into the air. The Paragon Sword Emperor and the others were filled with reluctance. By initiating an emperor-ranked battle, they had completely offended the Evergreen Kingdom, yet they failed to destroy it in a single move. The interference of Emperor Feather and the Namhuang clan had completely messed up their plans. The Myriad Devil Islands? The White Tiger Demon Emperor glanced downwards as he departed as well. Very swiftly, the immortal emperors all vanished from the airspace of the Evergreen Kingdom. The vines and leaves of the evergreen tree that covered the entire region retracted with lightning speed. Not long after, when the people in the royal capital inclined their heads and stared at the sky, everything returned to normal. The immortal emperors had all vanished. The emperor-ranked battle had ended. The evergreen tree once again buried itself into the ground of the Evergreen Kingdom, taking root there. The evergreen immortal emperor walked through the air, clasping his hands to Matriarch Ji, Emperor Yu, Nanfeng Guhong, the Thousand Transformations Emperor Lord and the other experts. Evergreen thanks everyone for coming here to aid us. Evergreen, the adjudication battle will be extremely dangerous. Leaving aside your opponents, even entering the Myriad Devil Islands is an unknown matter. What do you plan to do? GD stared at Chongqing the Great as she asked. Chongqing the Great sighed. That internal war caused too great of a toll on my empire. Not only did many experts die in battle, there were even some juniors who died. Right now, in this generation of the Evergreen Kingdom, there aren't many outstanding geniuses. Qin Wentian, since you like Qing'er and this battle concerns her future, you wouldn't wish for her to marry into the Sky Mist Empire, right? Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at Chongqing the Great who was in the air. He was holding on to Qing'er's hand and under the gazes of so many experts, he still did so, displaying his determination. I will head to the Myriad Devil Islands and fight for the sake of protecting Qing'er. Qin Wentian solemnly spoke. Fine, the time limit for this adjudication battle is 10 years. If you come out alive and obtain victory, I will betroth my beloved daughter Qing'er to you. Chongqing announced in front of everyone, his words causing Qin Wentian to stiffen. Qing'er, who was beside him, also froze as a strange light flashed in her eyes. After that, their hands clenched even tighter, feeling the warmth of each other's palms. I will send several disciples to participate in the battle. GD spoke. Master. Qing'er inclined her head and stared at GD. Qing'er, there's no need for you to feel guilty about what happened in the Sacred Academy. This time around, it isn't purely for you. Heading to the Myriad Devil Islands is a form of tempering for your senior apprentice sister. If one wants to become a supreme expert, how can it be possible without experiencing the tempering of life and death? Just treat it as a tempering experience. GD calmly spoke. My Namhuang clan will choose some people to participate in the battle. Nanfeng Guhong spoke. Many thanks, senior. Qin Wentian bowed. I will also choose some people to follow Qin Wentian to participate in the battle. Emperor Qianbian spoke. All the immortal emperors expressed their stances. Since this is the case, everyone can go back and make your preparations. 3 months later, we will arrive at the entrance of the Myriad Devil Islands. Emperor Yu spoke. He glanced at Qin Wentian. Little fellow, don't let down your identity as ancient Emperor Yi's successor. Yes, senior. Qin Wentian nodded. He understood that there was another layer of meaning behind Emperor Yu's words. In the ancient mountain, not only did he obtain ancient Emperor Yi's inheritance, he also obtained the identity of the Saint Lord of the Battle Saint tribe. As for Emperor Yu, he was also a member of the Battle Saint tribe. Let's go. Emperor Yu turned and soared into the air, vanishing from this area in the blink of an eye. Namfeng Guhong cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian. Nobody knew what happened in the ancient mountain back then. Emperor Yu was the servant of ancient Emperor Yi while Qin Wentian was ancient Emperor Yi's successor. However, was there really only this relationship between them? Those experts who followed Qin Wentian were all from the same ancient clan. However, there was no such clan in the immortal realms. In that case, where did they come from? Chapter 1228. An emperor-ranked battle that shook the eastern regions of the immortal realms ended just like that. Because of the control of both sides, the situation didn't worsen to the point where one side would fight to the death. Emperor Yu used his identity as a follower of ancient Emperor Yi to decide the location of the adjudication battle. Both sides agreed as well. After all, they understood that only in a place like the Myriad Devil Islands, the other side wouldn't be able to interfere. From a certain perspective, this was a very fair battle. Next, both sides would choose their participants. Although they were all peak powers, it wasn't easy to make a decision. This time around, heading to the Myriad Devil Islands was extremely risky, and there was a high possibility that they might not be able to return. If they wanted to choose a peak-level genius, they would have to weigh the pros and cons carefully. The Evergreen Kingdom, Namhuang Clan, Immortal Qianbian Gate and GD. These 4 hegemonic powers would choose their geniuses for the adjudication battle. Naturally, the alliance of the other side would choose their geniuses as well. Within the Immortal Qianbian Gate in the Cloud Prefecture, Qin Wentian, Mo Qingqing, Qin Yao and Little Rascal from Purgatory were together. I wish to go as well. Mo Qingqing spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian rubbed her head and smiled. Qingqing, this trip to the Myriad Devil Islands is filled with danger. With your current cultivation base, even if you go, it wouldn't be of any help to me. 10 years will pass very quickly. You should focus on your cultivation in the Immortal Sect, and try to break through to the next level. Don't worry, Wentian, I will accompany Qingqing. Qin Yao gently smiled. Elder sis, you have to take good care of yourself too. Qin Wentian stared at Qin Yao. The Dong Shengshan Gate suffered a blow from the White Emperor. Although they didn't lose any experts, their immortal sect was emptied out. In addition to the emperor-ranked battle, I believe the Dongxing Heaven Emperor should restrain himself for a period of time. There shouldn't be any major changes during these 10 years. You can be at ease here. With the monarch around, nothing can happen. The most important thing is you. Remember to be more careful. Luo Huan reminded Qin Wentian. Senior sister, I know. Qin Wentian smiled. The Sovereign Lord is still waiting. I'll be leaving first. Qin Wentian bade farewell. Mo Qingqing walked up and lightly leaned into his embrace, hugging him. After which, she released him and smiled sweetly. I will take good care of myself. But you have to promise me that nothing must happen to you. Qin Wentian cupped Mo Qingqing's face in his hands as he gently spoke. Don't worry, Qingqing. I still want to give birth to a supreme beauty that can throw the entire world into chaos. How can there be any problems? You guys are so sour, the little fellow said in a childish voice. Bang! Qin Wentian knocked his little head with his palm, then turned around and said, "Let's go." Little rascal stretched out his paws and scratched his head, yet he discovered that he couldn't reach it. He could only pitifully follow after Qin Wentian. Purgatory stepped out, following after Qin Wentian. At the same time, in the Evergreen Kingdom, Jidi's sect and the Namhuang clan, all of them were gathering their experts. In the central regions of the immortal realms, in the Nine Emperors' immortal state, in an ancient palace, the immortal emperor sitting in the lead seat asked, "Shatian, you are currently peeking at the gate to the immortal king realm, and you are getting further and further away. There will be a day when you break through to the immortal king realm. Even if you don't enter the myriad devil islands, it's the same. Do you really intend to head there?" The myriad devil islands have long been on my list of places I must head there. This time, I'll head there in advance to take a look. In the future when I become an emperor, given how vast the immortal realms are, who would dare to bar my path? Huang Shatian spoke arrogantly, his ambitions extremely great. With regards to the myriad devil sovereign's ban, many immortal emperors were extremely unhappy. There was actually a place in the immortal realms where they were forbidden from entering. Huang Shaishan's words contained immense confidence. If he became an emperor and stood at the peak, there wouldn't be any place in the immortal realms that would bar his path. Fine. Since this is the case, I won't persuade you any further. However, for the trip to the myriad devil islands, both sides have to make ample preparations. You have to be careful. The immortal emperor nodded. He stared at everyone in the palace. All of you are experts at the peak stage of immortal foundation. There are also some like Huang Shatian who have already peaked at the gate to the immortal king realm. This trip to the myriad devil islands can be considered a tempering exercise. In the myriad devil islands, all of you have to obey Shaishan's orders. Yes. Everyone nodded. The same scene happened in many other powers. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side had more participants, and it was easier for them to select 100 peak stage Immortal Foundation experts. The sacred ground of the Buddhist sect, Wenshin Temple, was filled with Buddhic chants. Occasionally, there would be the chimes of Buddhist bells ringing. Under a Bodhi tree, below the stone steps, monk Wuxia let out a sorrowful cry. How can the Buddhist sect enter such a filthy place? This disciple won't go. Foolish. On the stone steps, a reverend from the Buddhist sect held his Buddha beads in his hands, causing rustling sounds to ring out. He stared at monk Wuxia and reprimanded. As disciples of the Buddhist sect, we should head to the darkest and most filthy places to comprehend the Tao. This time around, if you meet evil people who have committed heinous crimes, you should also do your best to enlighten them. This is the true great Tao of the Buddhist sect. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother. Wuxia stared at his two senior brothers with pleading eyes. Master's words are naturally the truth of the Buddhist sect. At this moment, Bu didn't remain silent. He spoke in a very natural manner, causing Wuxia to silently curse. In front of his master, his senior brother Buyu's bootlicking ability was countless times stronger than his. We're going to purge the Devil Dao's villains, Buchan said seriously. Buddha and devil are incompatible. My cultivation base is still too low. Do you guys want to harm Wuxia? Wuxia howled in sorrow. If I don't enter hell, who would? Buyu's expression was solemn. Many thank senior brother for accompanying me. Wuxia bowed. Wrong, eldest senior brother is speaking on your behalf. Me and eldest senior brother want to study the Buddhist scriptures. We won't be accompanying you. Buchan spoke. Why don't you guys enter hell but me? Wuxia angrily asked. Because you are weak. Entering hell is also a form of cultivation. Buchan had a straight face as he spoke. I want to renounce asceticism. A roar of grief and anger rang out from the Wenshin Temple. In the southern regions, an immortal emperor from the Jiang clan, one of the three ancient clans, stared at Jiang Ziyu and the others as he spoke. Do you guys really want to head to the myriad devil islands? This place is extremely dangerous. If you meet with danger, our clan won't be able to save you. Only then would it be considered a true tempering exercise. Jiang Ziyu spoke. Seems like you have a deep obsession with those who are cultivating in the Sacred Academy. They are entering the myriad Devil Islands to participate in the adjudication battle, yet you actually want to enter as well? In that case, I'll grant you your wish. That immortal emperor spoke. In the northern regions of the Immortal Realms, in the 100 Refinements sect, a similar scene happened. A supreme character at the Immortal Foundation realm, Li Yufeng, requested to enter the myriad Devil Islands to temper himself. In the Dark North Empire, Baiming Nongyue requested to enter the myriad Devil Islands to temper herself. That emperor-ranked battle in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms didn't only affect the eastern regions. In the boundlessly vast Immortal Realms, in the southwest direction, there was an extremely vast region named the Death Region. This region was extremely famous for being chaotic. There were no major powers controlling this place. This place was also a buffer zone between the myriad Devil Islands and the Immortal Realms. In this place, there were heinous villains, righteous people who wanted to exterminate all evil. There were no rules here, only fists. At the end of the Death Region, it seemed to be the end of the Immortal Realms. Over here, there was a devil wall that enveloped a boundless area. This devil wall gleamed with a terrifying dark light as boundless runes flowed on it. Even for peak-stage immortal emperors, they wouldn't be able to break through this devil wall. There were rumors that this devil wall was created by the founder of the myriad Devil Islands, the myriad Devil Sovereign, separating the Immortal Realms from the myriad Devil Islands. There were also rumors that this devil wall was an extremely rare divine weapon that could sever the heavens and earth. In the center of this devil wall, there was a towering devil gate that towered into the heavens, exuding an incomparable majesty. Behind the devil gate, there seemed to be a devil mountain and devil pagoda. This devil gate connected the myriad Devil Islands and the Immortal Realms. In the air, a group of figures descended from the sky, landing before the devil gate. These experts were none other than Chongqing the Great. He brought Qin Wentian and the others here to fulfill their promise, sending Qin Wentian and the others to the myriad Devil Islands to begin the adjudication battle. Is this the Devil Gate? Qin Wentian and the others landed on the ground, staring at the terrifying gate before them. This gate was the entrance to the myriad Devil Islands. At this moment, light rippled from the Devil Gate as a figure appeared. This figure was completely black and exuded an intense devilish might. He glanced at the figures not far away as he frowned. Immortal emperors from the Immortal Realms want to enter the myriad Devil Islands? Chongqing the Great glanced at that devil cultivator. After which, that devil cultivator laughed. Seems like they are sending their descendants to the myriad Devil Islands to temper themselves. In that case, we have to be more careful. As he spoke, he immediately stepped forward and left. Let's wait for them here. Chongqing the Great spoke. In the next few days, Qin Wentian discovered that many people actually came to the Devil Gate. In addition, many of these people were geniuses from the Sacred Academy. They weren't involved in the commotion, but they also came here, wanting to temper themselves in the myriad Devil Islands. This was especially so when Qin Wentian saw a Buddhist reverend bringing Wuxia over. Qin Wentian couldn't help but be astonished. Brother Qin, good brother. In the future, I will definitely follow you. Wuxia howled in grief when he saw Qin Wentian. After which, he directly rushed towards Qin Wentian. What's going on? Qin Wentian asked. My master wants me to enlighten those devil cultivators. I'm worried that before I can enlighten them, I would already be enlightened and sent to meet the Buddha. Wuxia sighed. Just you alone? Qin Wentian blinked. Wuxia was on the verge of tears. I've decided. In the future, I will no longer recognize those two stinky monks. Black lines appeared on Qin Wentian's face. At this moment, a bright light flashed in the air. Chongqing the Great inclined his head, and saw the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, leading a group of experts riding on divine elephants over. With a single glance, there were more than 100 experts. What do you mean by this? Chongqing the Great coldly spoke. 100 participants are participating in the adjudication battle. The rest of the disciples are only here to temper themselves in the myriad Devil Islands. The rules didn't say anything about this, right? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor coldly spoke. Chongqing the Great frowned. These Immortal Foundation juniors were all extremely powerful. The vast majority of them were peak-level Immortal Foundation experts. Qin Wentian naturally saw them as well. He even saw familiar faces like Huang Shatian. These people who were participating in the adjudication battle weren't all from the Tiandao Sacred Academy. After all, from a certain perspective, the disciples of the Tiandao Sacred Academy only represented potential and talent. However, Qin Wentian was very clear that there were many juniors from the Supreme Powers who didn't have enough talent to enter the Sacred Academy, but their cultivation bases had already reached the peak. In fact, some of the older ones were already nearing the Immortal King realm. Their strength was truly terrifying. Chapter 1229. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's words weren't without logic. When Emperor Yu set the rules, he only said that each side would choose 100 people to participate in the adjudication battle. However, the Myriad Devil Islands only restricted Immortal Emperors from entering. They didn't restrict Immortal Foundation experts. This was a loophole. Even if the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor didn't allow them to enter at the same time, they could still enter in batches. Chongqing the Great had nothing to say. He was very clear that in this adjudication battle, both sides would do their best. After these people entered the Myriad Devil Islands, any possibility would appear. They could only depend on themselves. Alright, both sides will choose 100 people to enter. 10 years later, let's see how many of these people can walk out alive. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke. After that, 100 figures walked out from their side. These were none other than the participants of the adjudication battle. In front of the Evergreen Immortal Emperor, Qin Wentian and the other 100 experts all stepped forward. Both sides took out their treasures and imprinted their facial features and auras onto them. In that case, it would be impossible for the other party to deny it. If anyone steps out within 10 years, we will kill them all. How about it? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke. Sure. Chongqing the Great nodded. Since there was a time limit, they naturally wouldn't be able to exit within 10 years. If not, what meaning would there be to this adjudication battle? 10 years later, those who step out within 3 months will be counted. We have to give them some buffer time. It's impossible for them to exit on the same day. How about it? Chongqing the Great added. Sure. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor agreed, and added another rule. Alright, you guys can enter now. Chongqing the Great and the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke at the same time. This Devil Gate was extremely imposing, able to allow countless people to enter at the same time. These people before them weren't a problem at all. Qin Wentian and the others continued forward. They only saw Monk Bujia standing behind Qin Wentian as he mumbled, "Seems like we boarded the wrong ship." Looking at the many powerful beings at the side, Bujia felt depressed in his heart. He was here to seek protection. Looking at the vast number of people on the other side, he was at a complete disadvantage. Qin Wentian and the others walked towards the Devil Gate and directly stepped into the light screen. A mysterious energy bore down on them. Qin Wentian only felt an incomparably tyrannical aura sweeping past him, as though it wanted to see through him completely. This caused Qin Wentian to have a feeling that the instant they entered the Devil Gate, some of the supreme existences of the Myriad Devil Islands already knew that they had entered. It's just that those supreme existences wouldn't care about ordinary cultivators. Only immortal emperors would be viewed as invaders and forbidden from entering. Buzz. When Qin Wentian reappeared, he found himself standing in the void. Looking at everything in front of him, he could only feel intense waves in his heart. Is this the Myriad Devil Islands? Qin Wentian mumbled. He glanced around him. There was no one else at all. Everyone who entered the Myriad Devil Islands had actually been separated. Is this to prevent the immortal realms from invading? Qin Wentian sighed. For those who came out from the Devil Gate, they would all appear together. However, for those who entered the Myriad Devil Islands from the outside, even if it was an army of immortal cultivators, they would still be separated. If a major power from the immortal realms invaded, it would definitely be a nightmare. Maybe, this was also the reason why the Myriad Devil Islands could stand tall in the immortal realms. Myriad devil islands, billions of devil islands? Qin Wentian stared ahead as he mumbled. His body was in the air, but it could also be said that he was below. Before him, there was an incomparably gigantic island that was as big as a main city. He couldn't see the end of it with a single glance. Not only that, this island was merely one out of the millions and millions of islands. Qin Wentian glanced in all directions, only to see that there were islands everywhere. These islands were like the millions of constellations in the starry space. It was like he came to the starry space. Each island was like a world of stars. This is too marvelous. Where did the others go? Qin Wentian spoke. This was the reason why the adjudication battle was set to last for 10 years. Most probably, this wasn't a simple head-on battle, it was a true battle of attrition. They could borrow the power of divine weapons, external forces, and even the powers of the myriad devil islands. They had to use all methods to obtain victory. Qin Wentian stepped out, moving towards the island closest to him. Although it looked very close, that was because this island was simply too vast. In reality, there was still some distance between them. Even with Qin Wentian's speed, he only arrived at the edge of the island after several hours. He saw many people departing the island, heading towards the distance, as though they wanted to cross over to another island. With a flicker of his silhouette, Qin Wentian landed on the island. This island was like a boundlessly vast city. Staring at the crowd on the island, Qin Wentian had a strange look on his face. However, he soon understood. There were also countless ordinary people living on the myriad devil islands. Not all of them were like those powerful devil cultivators he saw in the Sacred Academy. 4 ordinary stellar martial cultivators, if they didn't unleash their devil arts, they wouldn't be too different from the Wuxia of the immortal realms. The myriad devil islands were like an independent world that had evolved for countless years. The people here mainly cultivated devil arts and had a more violent side to their personalities. However, this didn't mean that all devil cultivators were evil and Wuxia of the immortal realms were all kind. Qin Wentian thought back to that little lass by Qing of the past. The kind her also cultivated devil arts, but was she an evil person? For a character like Huang Yudi, wasn't he tyrannical and evil? Seems like I have to first stabilize my footing on the myriad devil islands and preserve my life. Qin Wentian silently mused. For the adjudication battle this time around, not only did he have to contend against the other party, he also had to survive in the environment of the myriad devil islands. As Qin Wentian thought of this, he stepped out, moving towards the main city on the island. He wanted to first gather information about the situation on the myriad devil islands. The cultivation bases of immortals and devils were interlinked. Qin Wentian's eyes were like lightning. He could easily see through the cultivation bases of the people here. The majority of them were below immortal foundation, with a majority at the celestial phenomenon realm. But there were also quite a few immortal foundation characters. It was the same as the immortal realms. The higher the cultivation base, the fewer peak-level immortal foundation characters. Qin Wentian, who was strolling around the island, didn't attract any attention. He was just like an ordinary person. The battles on the island were much more frequent compared to the immortal realms. This should have something to do with the warlike nature of devil cultivators. Devil cultivation arts would cause one to be more tyrannical and unrestrained. After walking around the island for over 10 days, Qin Wentian gradually gained some understanding of this island. There were millions and millions of devil islands in the myriad devil islands, and each of them had a powerful devil sect. There might be a single sect or a few sects that worked together to govern the various islands. This island was governed by a power named the Blackstone Devil Sect. The Blackstone Devil King was a supreme existence, the king of this island. Devil kings were equivalent to immortal kings. On this island, there were immortal king-level existences. This was the island of the Blackstone Devil King. Hence, the island was governed by his name. This was the rule of the myriad devil islands. The people living on this island all had to obey the rules of the Blackstone Devil Sect. This point was even more tyrannical compared to the immortal realms. In fact, on this island, when Qin Wentian was making inquiries, there were very few people who dared to mention the name of the Blackstone Devil King. It was as though they were afraid of breaking a taboo. It was a 13-year-old young girl who told him about this. At this moment in a courtyard on the island, Qin Wentian was quietly sitting there. Before him was a young girl who was very beautiful and exceptionally lively. Her name was Mo Yuqing. Her nickname was Little Qing, the same as Qing'er. She was a very kind young girl, causing Qin Wentian to like her very much. Little Qing, you are spouting nonsense in front of Mr. Qin again. A laugh rang out as a dignified young lady walked over. She looked to be in her late 20s, but in truth, she was much older than that. Her smile was very gentle. Madame Mo Qin Wentian stood up and greeted. Mr. Qin, there's no need to be so polite. Yesterday, that last Little Qing ran out alone. If it wasn't for Mr. Qin's help, she would most probably have been brought away. The young lady glared at Little Qing as she spoke. However, Little Qing had a mischievous expression on her face as she snuggled into Qin Wentian's embrace and smiled. Mother, if I didn't encounter some danger, how would I be acquainted with Mr. Qin? This is called fate. Madame Mo, who are those people exactly? They wouldn't even spare a child like Little Qing? Qin Wentian frowned as he thought back to the situation yesterday. There are no rules on this island. Those who have a connection with the Blackstone Devil sect are all tyrannical and rude, doing whatever they want. The people you met yesterday are from the Feng clan. There's a heaven chosen in their clan who is cultivating in the Blackstone Devil sect. In this generation, the Feng clan is the king, capturing whoever they want. That Feng Wuji is even more of a beast, cultivating a perverse devil art. Madame Mo's brows were furrowed as she spoke until here, as though she was still worried. Mr. Qin, were you followed yesterday? I don't think so. Qin Wentian shook his head. Let's hope no one finds out. If not. Madame Mo shook her head. Little Qing, back then your father was killed because he fought with others. In the future, you must not roam around recklessly. This island is too chaotic, you have to focus on your cultivation. Yes, mother. Little Qing nodded lightly. Her innocent eyes stared at Qin Wentian. Mr. Qin, you sent those people flying with a single palm strike yesterday. You should have a cultivation base at the Celestial Phenomenon Realm, right? Can you establish your devil foundation and become a devil? I think so. Qin Wentian smiled. In that case, Mr. Qin, you have to focus on your cultivation in the future. My grandfather has already established his devil foundation, and is an extremely outstanding character. Little Qing, continue telling me about the matters of the myriad devil islands. You said that if I want to join the Blackstone Devil sect, I have to kill a disciple of the Blackstone Devil sect? Qin Wentian asked. Little Qing nodded. The myriad devil islands are extremely cruel. The strong would ascend to the top. Whoever you kill, you would be able to replace that person. In fact, after speaking, Little Qing lowered her voice. If Mr. Qin killed the Blackstone Devil King, Mr. Qin would become the new Devil King. Little Qing. Madame Mo paled. She wasn't as sensible as a child and knew that sometimes, speaking nonsense could cause someone to die. Madame Mo, don't worry. I won't spread Little Qing's words. Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. Only then did Madame Mo nod her head. But at this moment, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared outside. After which, he saw numerous figures flying over. Madame Mo's countenance changed when she saw them. She then called out, "Elder brother." "Slut, did my younger brother feel lonely after his death? You actually brought a man back home. Also that little slut, capture her and send her to young Master Feng as a gift." The young man in the lead coldly spoke, instantly causing Madame Mo's countenance to turn pale. Chapter 1230. Young Master Feng was naturally referring to Feng Wuji. Clearly, they were still traced back to them. When she thought of the rumors about Feng Wuji, Madame Mo's countenance turned ashen. Ever since her husband died, her daughter, Little Qing, was her life. Even if the people of the Mo clan didn't treat her and her daughter well, for the sake of Little Qing's growth, she could only endure it. On the Devil Islands, it was an extremely dangerous thing for women with low cultivation bases to roam about recklessly. There were many devil cultivators who didn't care about the rules, and might even be cruel and merciless. An example was Feng Wuji. Elder brother, little Qing is your niece. Madame Mo blocked the way. Slut. Capture her and send her over as well. The young man who walked over didn't care so much. If he didn't give young Master Feng an explanation, his entire clan would be finished. A small clan like the Mo clan was simply too weak. Wait a minute. Qin Wentian, who was sitting there, suddenly spoke. Little Qing was curled up in his embrace. This beautiful little girl seemed to be extremely terrified. Evidently, this uncle of hers didn't treat her well at all. If not, she wouldn't be so afraid of him. Are you the one who dealt with young Master Feng? The young man stared at Qin Wentian with a venomous look on his face. This bastard wanted to cause the death of his clan. Someone is trying to snatch your niece, and I wanted to help. But now, you actually want to send your niece over to apologize? Qin Wentian stared at the young man before him as he coldly asked. His hand gently stroked little Qing's head as he spoke in a low voice. Little Qing, Mister is here. There's no need to be afraid. Mister, these people are very powerful. Mister, you should leave first. This has nothing to do with Mister. Little Qing innocently stared at Qin Wentian. She was merely a 13-year-old little girl. Don't worry, Mister isn't afraid of them. Qin Wentian smiled and consoled. What shameless boasting. The young man waved his hand. After that, a group of people surrounded Qin Wentian. Little Qing seemed to be even more afraid as she leaned closer to Qin Wentian. Hurry up. Not far away, a cold figure stood there, staring at Qin Wentian with coldness in his eyes. He was none other than Feng Wuji's follower. Before this, when Feng Wuji saw the little girl, he immediately sent him to capture her. However, he met Qin Wentian and was obstructed by Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji only gave him a single sentence. If you can't bring her back, bring your own head back with you. All right. The young man radiated the tyrannical aura of a peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendant, as devil might gushed forth, causing the wind and clouds to change. He stared at Qin Wentian. Little slut, it's your fortune that young Master Feng has taken a liking to you. You actually still dare to flee? You don't know the immensity of death. After saying that, he raised his hand and blasted at Qin Wentian's head. Little Blue, Madame Mo, who was at the side, had a pale countenance. When the terrifying devil fist light blasted towards Qin Wentian, a beam of light suddenly flashed, and after that, the fist light vanished completely. This scene caused Madame Mo's expression to freeze. The people in the surroundings were stunned as well. Qin Wentian quietly sat there, speaking to little Qing, who was in his embrace. With Mister here, no one can bring you away. Little Qing blinked her clear eyes, staring at Qin Wentian. Mister, are you a devil? Yup, Mister has already become a devil. Qin Wentian laughed, causing the people in the surroundings to stiffen. That young man's countenance turned slightly pale. At this moment, a powerful devil might descended as an old man appeared in the air. Qin Wentian had long known that there was an immortal foundation expert in the Mo clan. Sir, who are you exactly? This is an internal matter of my clan. Please don't interfere. The old man stared at Qin Wentian. Grandpa, Mister is a good person. Little Qing called out. However, the old man merely coldly glanced at her. The little girl didn't seem to realize that her grandpa had already decided to abandon her. The little girl stared at her grandpa with a pleading look on her face. Qin Wentian sighed silently in his heart. Tell Feng Wuji to come and ask me for the person. Qin Wentian no longer looked at the old man. He calmly spoke. The old man snorted coldly. What arrogant words. I truly want to see what qualifications do you have to say such words. His devil foundation erupted forth, instantly causing the wind and clouds to change. Devil might gushed forth, engulfing this entire space. I'll let you. Qin Wentian spoke. He inclined his head and stared at the old man as he spat out a single word, scram. As the sound of his voice faded, the laws of the great Tao manifested. Ancient characters shimmered in and out of existence as they blasted out with lightning speed. With a thunderous boom, the old man was directly flung through the air, slamming heavily into a wall. The old man collapsed onto the ground, coughing out blood as his countenance turned as pale as paper. He inclined his head in shock, staring at Qin Wentian as great waves rose in his heart. The people in the surroundings all had ashen expressions as they stared at Qin Wentian in shock. That arrogant young man earlier was now trembling uncontrollably. Qin Wentian glanced at him. At this moment, he only felt as though a sharp sword was shooting towards him. He was so frightened that his legs trembled. With a roar, his father who had established his devil foundation was injured. This person's cultivation base was truly terrifying. Tell Feng Wuji to come and ask for the person. Qin Wentian stared at that follower. His earlier words were ignored, but at this moment, that follower could truly feel the imposingness of Qin Wentian's words. He instantly turned and departed. The others all fled in an extremely short period of time. Only little Qing and her mother, Madame Mo, were left behind. Madame Mo's eyes stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian. She didn't expect Qin Wentian to be so strong. In addition, he didn't even release his devil might. With just a roar, he could injure a devil foundation expert. Sir, you are so awesome. Little Qing blinked, staring at Qin Wentian. Little Qing, you are still young. You must know that there are many people more powerful than Sir in this world. Hence, you have to work hard in your cultivation and protect your mother in the future. Qin Wentian gently spoke. I must be as powerful as Sir. Little Qing nodded. Sir, but the strength of the Feng clan is truly very powerful. Madame Mo still spoke with worry. Although Qin Wentian was very strong, Feng Wuji himself was incomparably powerful as well. In addition, he had an even more talented elder sister, a heaven chosen from the Blackstone Devil sect. On this devil island, she was the king. What about the person with the highest cultivation base in the Feng clan? Other than the Blackstone Devil sect, are there any other devil kings on this island? Qin Wentian asked. Only now did Madame Mo understand that Sir Qin wasn't someone from this island. He was an outsider. Sir, devil kings are all lofty characters. I have no way to come into contact with them. Other than the Blackstone Devil sect, I have no idea if there are any other devil kings on this island. Right now, the most powerful person in the Feng clan should be Feng Wuji's elder sister, Feng Qingyu, who cultivates in the Blackstone Devil sect. It's said that her cultivation base has already reached the upper 3 levels of Devil Foundation, and is extremely terrifying. Madame Mo replied. Such a character, in her eyes, was already an unreachable expert. Does Feng Qingyu know about the evil actions of her younger brother? Qin Wentian asked. Naturally. I heard that she obtained the cultivation arts from outside, and imparted them to Feng Wuji. Madame Mo replied. I understand. Qin Wentian nodded. Don't worry. In the future, the people of the Mo clan would definitely not dare to make things difficult for you guys. At this moment, the Feng clan was currently holding a banquet. Today, the pride of the Feng clan, Feng Qingyu, returned to the clan, and she even brought along 2 of her fellow sect members from the Blackstone Devil sect. The Feng clan prepared the most luxurious banquet to welcome them. Everyone enjoyed the delicacies and wine. The atmosphere was extremely lively. Feng Wuji was a young man with a pale face. At this moment, he was currently toasting a beautiful woman with a frosty countenance. Elder sis, this toast is for you. Without elder sis, there would be no Feng clan. How are the preparations for the women I asked you to prepare for me? Feng Qingyu calmly asked. We are still lacking one. I've already sent people to get her. I've personally seen her. She should be able to satisfy elder sis. Feng Wuji spoke. In the outside world, there were rumors saying that Feng Wuji cultivated a perverse devil art, and needed to borrow women to cultivate it. But no one knew that this was merely a rumor spread by the Feng clan to protect Feng Qingyu's reputation, even though Feng Qingyu herself didn't really care about it. Just as he was speaking, a person ran over in a panic. Feng Wuji frowned. Where is she? With a putong sound, that person turned pale from fright. He knelt down. Young Master Feng, the young man who saved that last back then, is actually a powerful devil cultivator. With a single roar, he injured the old man from the Mo clan. In that case, you didn't bring the person over? Feng Wuji tapped his wine cup as he spoke. Young Master Feng, the old man from the Mo clan, is a Devil Foundation expert. He was injured by a single roar. That person repeated. However, the wine in Feng Wuji's cup flew up and transformed into a terrifying black-colored devil sword that directly slashed towards that follower. In an instant, the sword penetrated through the head of that follower, causing traces of blood to appear. After that, it flew back into the wine cup and Feng Wuji drained it in a single gulp. As for that follower, he had already collapsed onto the ground. Elder sis, there are actually people who dare to disturb your matters. Seems like I can only make a trip there personally. Feng Wuji spoke. Since I have nothing to do, I might as well go out for a walk. Let me accompany you to take a look. The countenance of the woman was as cold as ice. She stood up, and a moment later, everyone stood up as well. Many people were already silently mourning for that person. To think that he actually offended Feng Qingyu. The experts of the Feng clan continued on their way, attracting the attention of many. Many people felt shock in their hearts. They didn't know who had offended the Feng clan. Moreover, it was Feng Qingyu. When the people of the Mo clan saw Feng Wuji and Feng Qingyu riding on a greater demon, all the experts of the Mo clan, including the Devil Foundation clan leader, all knelt on the ground. An intense fear caused their bodies to tremble lightly. As for that incomparably imposing woman who sat on the back of the greater demon, she was none other than Feng Qingyu of the Blackstone Devil sect. With just a single sentence from her, her Mo clan would be annihilated. Little Qing's mother also turned pale from fright when she saw the scene in the air. A sorrowful sigh could be heard in her heart. Feng Qingyu actually came. No matter how powerful Mr. Feng is, he wouldn't be able to escape death today. Mister, if you can escape, just run for your life. Madame Mo transmitted her voice to Qin Wentian. She knew that she would die for sure. The pitiful little Qing, she hasn't grown up yet. Feng Wuji's cold and imposing gaze swept down, landing on little Qing and Qin Wentian as a cruel smile appeared on his face. Chapter 1231. Stand up for someone else? Feng Wuji laughed as he stared at Qin Wentian. On this island, such people were extremely rare, and their fates would always be extremely miserable. Qin Wentian sat there, inclined his head and stared at Feng Wuji as well as the noble maiden beside him. He then glanced at the people of the Mo clan kneeling on the ground as well as the fervent gazes of the others. He instantly understood that this maiden was none other than Feng Qingyu. Since this is the case, her ending will only be even more miserable. Feng Wuji had an evil smile on his face. His eyes swept over the people of the Mo clan as he coldly spoke. You guys are really not bad. You actually dared to accept him. Young Master Feng, please spare our lives. The old man from the Mo clan trembled as he prostrated himself on the ground, not daring to move at all. Spare our lives? Now let's see how you all choose to die. Feng Wuji calmly smiled. I'm very curious. Is that maiden your daughter-in-law? I'm very curious, how will you deal with her? The old man from the Mo clan trembled even more violently as despair flashed in his eyes. He couldn't defeat Qin Wentian, and he couldn't afford to antagonize Feng Wuji. No matter what, only death awaited him. Feng Qingyu quietly watched from the side. She and her two fellow sect members all had expressions of interest on their faces, as they stared at the people below like they were examining ants. Before the disciples of the Darkness Devil sect, these ordinary characters were nothing but ants. Boom. The old man from the Mo clan stood up. He stared at Qin Wentian. Sir, I hope that you won't interfere in the matters of the Mo clan. As he spoke, his killing intent gushed forth as he walked towards Madame Mo. Qin Wentian sat there, and stared at the old man from the Mo clan. He shook his head and sighed. As long as you have the slightest bit of kindness or backbone, there would be a path to survival. Yet you chose this path of death. Kill. The young man from the Mo clan waved his hands, wanting to kill Feng Wuji no matter the price. Feng Wuji was a devil, they couldn't afford to antagonize him. Right now, they could only hope for a chance of survival. Qin Wentian carried little Qing and stood up. His gaze turned exceptionally cold as he took a step towards the old man from the Mo clan. Boom. This step was like heavenly might. The old man from the Mo clan only felt his devil foundation facing a supreme pressure, causing it to tremble violently. His footsteps halted as a look of terror appeared on his face, staring at the silhouette of Qin Wentian. Boom! Qin Wentian took another step forward. As his foot landed, a cracking sound rang out. The old man coughed out a mouthful of blood as cracks appeared on his devil foundation. His body trembled violently as he stared motionlessly at Qin Wentian. There was only shock in his heart. How could Qin Wentian be so powerful? Just by relying on his devil foundation, Qin Wentian was able to suppress him in terms of cultivation base? As the third step landed, the old man screamed in agony as he coughed out fresh blood. His devil foundation shattered, and the people of the Mo clan around him all turned pale from fear. How would they dare to step forward? He can't afford to offend you, but can you afford to offend me? Qin Wentian's gaze swept across the crowd. The people of the Mo clan trembled in fear. Qin Wentian raised his head and looked at Feng Wuji, only to see Feng Wuji frowning. He couldn't see through Feng Wuji's cultivation level, but he seemed to be quite strong. Capture him. Feng Wuji waved his hands. His personality was arrogant, but he wasn't lacking in caution. Right now he could feel a trace of threat from Qin Wentian. In that case, it would be best if he didn't act personally. Boom! Qin Wentian took a step forward. Feng Wuji's expression sank as he groaned in misery. The devil foundation in his body actually felt a formless pressure. This pressure originated from a higher-grade devil foundation. Several experts appeared before him, moving towards Qin Wentian only to see Qin Wentian carrying little Qing in his arms as he slowly walked through the air. He opened his mouth and spat out a single word: destroy. As the sound of his voice faded, ancient characters manifested in the air, exuding a fearsome destructive might. They transformed into ancient halberds that directly penetrated through space. Chi-chi-chi. A series of sounds rang out. Those experts moving towards Qin Wentian directly died, killed in a single strike. Upon seeing this scene, Feng Wuji's countenance changed. He wanted to retreat, but he only saw Qin Wentian grabbing out in the air. A terrifying palm imprint descended from the sky, directly shattering Feng Wuji's defenses and capturing him. Elder sis, save me! Feng Wuji screamed. How could Qin Wentian be so powerful? His cultivation base was at the 5th level of Immortal Foundation, yet he couldn't even withstand a single strike. Feng Qingyu acted the moment Qin Wentian acted. Her countenance was ice-cold as blood-colored devil might revolved around her. She was like a baleful god, radiating a devilish light that seemed to be from purgatory. Release him. Feng Qingyu stared at Qin Wentian, her countenance extremely cold. Disciple of the Blackstone Devil sect? Qin Wentian stared at Feng Qingyu and the others as he asked. Since you know, why don't you release him? Feng Qingyu's voice was incomparably imposing. Qin Wentian's gaze landed on Feng Wuji, who was in the middle of the palm imprint. Feng Wuji coldly spoke. If you dare to touch me, both you and that young lady will suffer a fate worse than death. I heard that the rules of the Blackstone Devil sect state that if I kill you, I will be able to replace you? Qin Wentian stared at Feng Qingyu as he spoke again. As the sound of his voice faded, the surroundings instantly turned deathly silent. The hearts of those from the Mo clan below pounded. How arrogant was this calm voice? If he killed Feng Qingyu, he would be able to replace her. So, why should I keep you alive? Qin Wentian stared at Feng Wuji. In an instant, an expression of despair appeared on Feng Wuji's face. The gigantic palm imprint abruptly slammed down, directly shattering Feng Wuji into dust. Someone as unexcelled in the world was actually killed in such a baffling manner. Most probably, even in his wildest dreams, Feng Wuji would never have imagined that he would die so easily. The people below also didn't expect that the devil-like Feng Wuji would be killed in such a domineering manner in front of Feng Qingyu. Feng Qingyu didn't reveal too much grief. Other than a trace of anger, there was also wariness. After all, this Qin Wentian wanted to kill her and replace her. If the two of you want to interfere, I don't mind taking care of both of you. It's just that replacing the positions of the three of you isn't a good idea. Qin Wentian stared at the two fellow sect members beside Feng Qingyu. The two of them revealed an expression of interest. What an arrogant fellow. If you can really kill Qingyu, we will be fellow sect members. But if you can't, you will have to leave your life behind. One of them laughed. The two of them actually stepped aside, having no intentions of helping Feng Qingyu. Most probably, this was a unique characteristic of the Blackstone Devil sect. This sort of thing was a common occurrence. Demonic cultivators only recognized strength. Feng Qingyu suddenly moved. However, she didn't rush towards Qin Wentian. Instead, she pointed a finger at Madame Mo below. A terrifying blood-colored light instantly descended, wanting to devour Madame Mo. The devil path was unscrupulous when it came to killing. They didn't care about the rules. As long as they killed their opponents, it would be considered victory. Qin Wentian's expression changed. He instantly appeared before Madame Mo as a terrifying light enveloped Madame Mo. Feng Qingyu had an extremely cold expression on her face when she saw this. Immortal Realm Wuxia. At this moment, the energy released by Qin Wentian didn't contain any devil might. That was immortal energy. This man was from the immortal realms. Immortal Realm Wuxia? Can't he cultivate the devil path? Qin Wentian placed little Qing beside Madame Mo. He inclined his head and stared at Feng Qingyu, who was enveloped by the blood-colored light. I thought you would bring 2 people with you to fight against me. Feng Qingyu coldly spoke. I don't need to move to kill you. Law energy gushed forth from Qin Wentian. He pointed his finger in the air and instantly, a terrifying sword might manifested. Countless ancient sword characters transformed into sharp swords that floated in the air, enveloping this entire space. Boom. A gigantic blood-colored python appeared, shining with a dark red light. Feng Qingyu pressed her finger forward as the blood-colored python frenziedly lunged towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian waved his hand as a screen of swords appeared in the air, shredding the terrifying blood-colored python into dust. The sword might grew stronger and stronger, as though it wanted to destroy everything. Go. Qin Wentian pointed his finger in the air as a gigantic sword character appeared in the air, shooting forward. A river of swords appeared in the air, shredding everything. Feng Qingyu's countenance was as pale as paper. She bit her lips and transformed into a beam of blood-colored light, wanting to flee. Kill. Qin Wentian's finger pressed down in the air again. The sword river slashed through the air, creating a river of blood in the air. That blood-colored light stopped and transformed back into Feng Qingyu's body. A bloody scar could be seen in the center of her brows. She glanced at Qin Wentian with reluctance, and after that, her body transformed into a beam of blood-colored light and vanished from sight. She was killed instantly. The other 2 disciples of the Blackstone Devil sect had heavy expressions on their faces. The cultivation base of this person should be at the 7th level of Devil Foundation, but his combat prowess was extremely terrifying. He actually didn't even give Feng Qingyu a chance to flee. The people of the Feng clan were all silent. Feng Qingyu and Feng Wuji were killed today. Was the Feng clan still the Feng clan? The people of the Mo clan felt their hearts pounding violently. This was especially so for the old man from the Mo clan whose cultivation base was crippled. He thought of Qin Wentian's words earlier. They can't afford to antagonize him. But can they afford to antagonize him? Initially, nothing would happen to them. But because they made the wrong choice, they were crippled. Right now, one could very well imagine the pain in his heart. Now, am I considered a disciple of the Blackstone Devil sect? Qin Wentian stared at the other 2 as he asked. Naturally. As long as you are willing, you can follow us back to the sect. One of them nodded. Qin Wentian slowly rose up into the air. At this moment, the gazes of everyone when they looked at him changed. After this battle, he replaced Feng Qingyu and became a disciple of the Blackstone Devil sect. What should we do about this place? Qin Wentian asked. Don't worry. Another person glanced at the people of the Feng clan. Go back and tell your clan leader that no one is allowed to touch the family of this little girl, or the entire Feng clan will be annihilated. Yes. That person's body trembled violently. He lowered his head as his countenance turned ashen. The Feng clan was no longer the Feng clan. Sir, are you leaving already? Little Qing tugged on Qin Wentian's sleeves as she asked. Little Qing. Sir is here for cultivation. he naturally has to leave. Little Qing has to work hard in her cultivation in the future. Qin Wentian rubbed the little girl's head. Little Qing will definitely work hard in her cultivation and become as strong as Sir in the future. At that time, I can go to the devil sect to look for Sir. Little Qing gently smiled. Little lass. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. He turned his head and spoke to Madame Mo. Madam, take good care of little Qing. I, Qin, will bid my farewell. In the future, if there's a chance, I will come back to visit little Qing. Many thanks, sir. Madame Mo nodded. She knew that with this sentence from Qin Wentian, no one would dare to touch them. If something happens to them, the Mo clan and Feng clan will die together. Qin Wentian soared up into the air, coldly leaving behind a sentence as he left with the other two from the Blackstone Devil sect. The reason he came to the Myriad Devil Islands was for the adjudication battle. He naturally had to do what he should do. Since the Blackstone Devil sect was the strongest power on this island, it was undoubtedly a power he needed to borrow. Chapter 1232. The Blackstone Devil sect governed the entire island. How vast was their power? Within the sect, the Blackstone Devil King was the supreme ruler, and there were 4 devil monarchs under him. Below the 4 devil monarchs, there were 7 devil generals. There were a total of 28 devil generals under the 4 devil monarchs. They were the controllers of the Blackstone Devil sect on the surface, and each of them had a powerful devil army under them. This army was collectively known as the Blackstone Army. Hence, within the Blackstone Devil sect, there weren't too many core disciples. The vast majority of them were in charge of the Blackstone Army. As the strongest force that could sweep through the devil path, they would suppress all those who disobeyed their orders. On the way there, Qin Wentian already understood the general situation of the Blackstone Devil sect. The 4 devil monarchs were all at the Devil King level. In addition to the strongest Devil King, the Blackstone Devil King, there were actually a total of 5 Devil King level characters in the sect. As for the 28 devil generals under the 4 devil monarchs, their cultivation bases were all at the peak of Devil Foundation. Also, according to the 2 beside him, they were all characters who had already peeked through the gate to the Devil King realm. If not, they wouldn't be able to sit in the position of Devil General and control so many disciples as well as an army. In the Blackstone Devil sect, all cultivation resources had to be fought for with strength. Experts were born from iron and blood. In the central region of the Devil Island, there was a Devil King Palace that exuded terrifying devil might. This was the Devil Palace of the Blackstone Devil King. In the 4 directions of the Devil Palace, there were 4 different Devil Palaces of different styles. These were none other than the 4 Devil Monarchs. Devil Lord Huaji was the only female Devil Lord among the 4. She was in charge of the Eastern Devil Palace. There were 7 Devil Generals under her, and one of them was named Lu Xuejia. She was one of the 7 most authoritative characters in the Eastern Devil Palace. She was a Devil General at the peak of Devil Foundation, and had already peeked through to the Devil King realm. Feng Qingyu, whom Qin Wentian killed, was one of Lu Xuejia's subordinates. Hence, he was brought to the palace Lu Xuejia was in. Standing at the bottom of the Devil Staircase, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the Devil Palace above the mountain gate. He mused in his heart that people of the Devil Path truly understood prestige, more compared to people of the immortal realms. Just the architectural style of this building was filled with a sense of hierarchy. The palace above the staircase was a symbol of authority. Although Qin Wentian had long seen many immortal kings, immortal foundation characters wouldn't be able to attract his interest. But at this moment, he could already sense how strict the hierarchy was. Only the strong could be high and mighty. Even if they were only 1 level stronger, it was still the same. If he wanted to ascend to the top, the only way was to kill the other party and replace him. Of course, Qin Wentian wouldn't be so stupid as to directly step onto the Devil Gate staircase and enter the palace to kill Lu Xuejia. Not to mention the fact that Lu Xuejia's strength was unknown. Even if he knew her strength, Lu Xuejia had the highest authority in this Devil Palace. She could directly order everyone to kill Qin Wentian. Anyone who dared to challenge her authority, she could directly order people to kill. because she was already standing in that position. The true cruelty of the devil path was that even if you stood in that position now, it didn't mean that you would be able to stay there forever. You have to constantly be wary of the people around you and your subordinates. Because once they found an opportunity to kill someone stronger than you, they would replace you. This would undoubtedly increase the number of bloodshed. But at the same time, there was no need to doubt the strength of those who could sit in that position. It was said that Lu Xuejia has already stayed in this palace for over 30 years. 30 years ago, she walked up and sat in that position. 30 years later, she only grew stronger. Right now, there was no longer anyone who dared to challenge her authority. Those who dared to challenge her before were all buried in the Devil Palace. Qianshan requests an audience with Lord Devil General. The person beside Qin Wentian spoke. There were soldiers standing guard at the top of the stairway. They were all Lu Xuejia's subordinates. Qin Wentian discovered that their cultivation bases were all at the 6th level or above. From this, one could see that the devil sect had no lack of experts. But in reality, those who could truly become disciples of the devil sect were very few in number. The vast majority of them were from the army of the devil sect. There was no reply, but the two people beside Qin Wentian continued standing there. After a long time, the cold voice of a female rang out. Who is this person? He killed Feng Qingyu and replaced her. Qianshan replied. Another period of silence. An instant later, the sound of footsteps rang out from the devil hall at the top of the stairway. Not long after, Qin Wentian saw a woman clad in simple robes standing at the top of the stairway. She was none other than Lu Xuejia. Her simple robes were unable to conceal her magnificence. Her eyes were extremely cold, as though they could see through the hearts of others. I let Feng Qingyu return because I wanted her cultivation base to rise to the next level. Who would have thought that she was so useless and was killed by someone? But it's just as well. Since there's someone who can replace her, his strength should definitely be above Feng Qingyu. Lu Xuejia didn't have much of a reaction to Feng Qingyu's death. Her calm eyes stared at Qin Wentian. How's your combat prowess? It shouldn't be a problem for me to kill 8th level Devil Foundation experts. Qin Wentian replied. Okay, you can be my personal Devil Knight for now. Lu Xuejia didn't ask for Qin Wentian's opinion. In this Devil Palace, as a Devil General, her words were supreme and no one could refute her. This was only natural. This was the rule of the Devil sect. Even if she wanted Qin Wentian to be a slave, Qin Wentian would still have to do as she said. The Devil sect was extremely cruel. If one wanted to live longer, they might even have to hide their talent, or they might be treated as enemies of the higher-ups and be killed. Reporting to General, this person came from the immortal realms, and isn't a devil cultivator. Qianshan spoke. This caused the beautiful eyes of Lu Xuejia, who was preparing to leave, to flash as she stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. However, her expression returned to normal an instant later as she calmly spoke. Several days ago, an immortal Wuxia from the immortal realms came to the Northern Devil Palace. It said that his strength is extremely strong, able to fight against peak-stage Devil Foundation experts. To think that I actually have an immortal Wuxia as my subordinate now. After speaking, she turned and spoke. Come up. From today onwards, you should temporarily familiarize yourself with the rules. Qin Wentian frowned. An immortal Wuxia from the Northern Devil Palace was here as well? Was this a coincidence? Or could it be that Wuxia was one of the people who entered the myriad Devil Islands together with him? Could it be someone from his side, or someone from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side? They passed through the Devil Gate at the same time. Although they might arrive at different locations, they shouldn't be too far away. There was a high possibility that there were others on this island. Qin Wentian, just like that, mysteriously became Lu Xuejia's Devil Knight, equivalent to her personal attendant. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they come. Although Qin Wentian was arrogant, he wasn't a virtuous person. Since he came to the myriad Devil Islands, he had to adapt to everything here. If he still thought that he was still in the immortal Qianbian Gate, he would most probably die here sooner or later. Hence, even if he had to stand outside the Devil Hall as a guard, Qin Wentian would still accept it. It was just that he would occasionally glance at the Devil Hall, revealing the ambition in his heart. Since he joined the Blackstone Devil sect, he naturally had to have a high position, or what was the point of staying here? Becoming a devil general was the next thing he needed to do. Today, Qin Wentian stood guard outside the devil hall. He saw two devil path experts entering, and after that, intense sounds of battle rang out. The people at the side were already used to it, and clearly knew what was happening inside. That's right. As my protectors, you guys have to assist me in the devil ranking battle. If you can obtain a good ranking, I will definitely reward you heavily. Lu Xuejia's voice rang out. Qin Wentian's expression flickered. He had heard of the devil ranking battle before. Within the devil sect, the 28 devil generals under the 4 great devil monarchs represented the 28 major forces, and they had to be ranked. It was said that the higher the ranking a devil general was, the greater their authority would be. In addition, they would also be able to obtain special rewards from the devil king. Lu Xuejia was ranked number 9 among the 28 devil generals. An instant later, Lu Xuejia brought the two of them out. At this moment, Lu Xuejia was clad in a tight-fitting black robe that accentuated her alluring figure. In addition to the fact that she had put on some makeup, her entire person exuded an aura of heroism, dainty and capable. Qin Wentian cast a few more glances at her. Boom! Abruptly, an ice-cold aura bore down on Qin Wentian. The eyes of the man beside Lu Xuejia gleamed with a terrifying devil light as he coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Dig out your own eyes. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed, staring at the man who spoke. This man's cultivation base was equivalent to the 9th level of a mortal foundation, and his aura was extremely powerful. Why? Qin Wentian counter-asked. How can a devil general be profaned by your gaze? You actually dare to ask why? Dig out your own eyes and cut off your tongue. That devil expert spoke again, exuding a tyrannical aura. Qin Wentian had indeed cast a few more glances at Lu Xuejia's body. This person wanted him to dig out his own eyes. The actions of devil cultivators were truly unbridled, doing whatever they wanted to do. Lu Xuejia also halted her steps. She stared ahead and didn't say anything, as though what happened behind her had nothing to do with her. I only have admiration for devil generals. What profanity is there? As for you, who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to make me dig out my own eyes? Qin Wentian's voice was ice-cold. Boom! A terrifying devil might of darkness instantly erupted forth. Black light converged into a fearsome devil saber of darkness. His opponent didn't say anything more. A terrifying saber light of darkness slashed out, slashing towards Qin Wentian. If it struck, Qin Wentian would definitely die on the spot. To the experts of the devil sect, killing people seemed to be an insignificant matter. This kind of cruelty was something that would often happen. Qin Wentian's eyes were ice-cold. His aura instantly gushed forth as fiend god light circulated around him. His fearsome divine physique manifested, shining resplendently as ancient characters appeared on the screen of light. When the saber slashed down, it actually sank into the screen of light and directly shattered apart. However, this didn't seem to affect his opponent's emotions at all. An even more powerful devil might erupted forth. This time around, he wielded the devil saber in his hand, and when he slashed down, a hurricane manifested. The incomparably sharp devil saber directly nibbled away the defense of the screen of light, wanting to kill Qin Wentian on the spot. Chapter 1233. The edge of the devil's saber contained a terrifying corrosive energy. The black devil light gleamed with a bloodthirsty red light, devouring everything in its path. As a protector of a devil general, there was no need to doubt the strength of this protector devil knight. Many terrifying ancient runic characters appeared on Qin Wentian's fiend god body. When the devil's saber slashed into him, the runic characters radiated a dazzling immortal light. The devil's saber seemed to be standing on top of a divine body, indestructible. Even his devil's saber couldn't break through it. The eyes of that devil cultivator narrowed. What a powerful physique. A 7th-stage cultivation base. Such a physique was even more terrifying compared to many body cultivators. Boom! An even stronger devil might erupted forth. Many terrifying devil sabers manifested on the devil foundation and slashed down together, instantly engulfing this entire space, enveloping Qin Wentian within the darkness of destruction. Qin Wentian radiated a divine glow. He lifted his palm and blasted out with God's hand. There were many ancient characters inscribed on the palm imprint, blasting out of the area enveloped by the devil sabers and directly aiming for his opponent. His opponent lifted his hands as the thousands of devil sabers stacked together, transforming into a single beam. At this moment, a beam of black devil light slashed down from the sky, exploding forth with boundless killing intent, aiming for Qin Wentian's head. Qin Wentian's God's hand collided with the terrifying devil saber. The destructive energy from the collision ravaged the surroundings. Lu Xuejia's body was enveloped by a powerful black-colored sword light, protecting her from being corroded. At this moment, she had already turned around. She simply stood there, staring at the battle before her with interest. Qin Wentian, this 7th-level immortal foundation Wuxia from the immortal realms, had a combat prowess that surpassed everyone's expectations. Their attacks collided in the air, causing a tearing sound to ring out. Qin Wentian lifted his left hand, and under the gaze of that devil cultivator, he pointed a finger at the air. In an instant, a boundless sword might slashed out. That devil cultivator retracted his other hand and blasted out with a palm strike as he roared. However, the sword might unleashed by Qin Wentian's finger actually transformed into terrifying heavenly rocks that slashed apart everything. Puchi. A light sound rang out. A sword imprint appeared in the center of the devil cultivator's brows. His eyes froze as a myriad of sword intents gushed forth, instantly piercing through his entire body. The devil saber dissipated as a look of terror appeared on his face. In this battle he was actually defeated and killed on the spot. Lu Xuejia's expression didn't fluctuate too much. She stared at the fallen protector as she calmly spoke, "Clean this up." As the sound of her voice faded, a devil knight stepped forward and brought the corpse away. Another protector stared at Qin Wentian with wariness in his eyes. "From now onwards, you will replace his position and become my protector." Lu Xuejia's gaze landed on Qin Wentian. "Many thanks, General." Qin Wentian nodded as he glanced at Lu Xuejia. "However, this doesn't mean that I like the look in your eyes. You better be more honest, or I can't guarantee that I won't personally gouge your eyes out." Lu Xuejia's calm voice was filled with coldness. After that she continued, "Follow me to the Devil King Palace." After speaking, she took a step forward. The Devil Knights outside the Devil King Palace moved in unison, following after her. Qin Wentian casually laughed. He also stepped out and followed behind Lu Xuejia, moving towards the direction of the Devil King Palace where the Blackstone Devil King was located. Outside the majestic and imposing central Devil King Palace, there was a gigantic public square. Right now, many devil cultivators were gathered there, all of them exuding terrifying auras as they stood in different camps. When Lu Xuejia led Qin Wentian and the other devil knights, many turned their gazes onto Lu Xuejia. As a beautiful female devil general, Lu Xuejia naturally attracted a lot of attention. It was just that some people had wariness in their eyes when they looked at her, but there were also others who had no fear in their eyes. "Lu Xuejia, you are getting more and more beautiful." Only to see a gaze landing on Lu Xuejia. That gaze was incomparably demonic, not concealing the greed in it at all. He was admiring every part of Lu Xuejia's body, as though he wanted to devour Lu Xuejia in a single gulp. Lu Xuejia had a look of disgust on her face as she coldly glanced at that person. However, this person was none other than the 8th-ranked devil general Situ. He was extremely lecherous and extremely powerful. Lu Xuejia didn't doubt that if this person had a chance, Situ would definitely sully her. Hence, she had to grow stronger, becoming stronger than Situ. The devil path didn't care about rules. Strength was the law. "Your gaze is getting more and more tasteful." Situ licked his lips as his eyes grew even more demonic. A powerful woman like Lu Xuejia. He has been drooling over her for a very long time. She would definitely be more tasteful compared to those women who only knew how to please men. "There will be a day when I kill you." Lu Xuejia stared at Situ as she spoke. Dying in the embrace of a beauty is also a worthy death. Lu Xuejia, when you let me have a night of fun with you, I will let you kill me. How about it? Sita laughed, not bothering to mask his voice at all. The devil generals here all had calm expressions on their faces. They didn't care about the conversation between the two of them, as though they were already used to it. There were also other devil generals conversing, exuding a faint battle intent. But at this moment, everyone suddenly fell silent. From afar, another group of experts walked over. The person in the lead was incomparably imposing. It was none other than the third-ranked devil general, Zhong Yan. His strength was extremely shocking. The first three devil generals were undoubtedly the three with the highest authority under the devil lord. Their strength was also the most terrifying. The eyes of this imposing figure were extremely cold, sweeping his gaze through the crowd. In an instant, the entire crowd fell silent. When Qin Wentian saw him, his eyes narrowed. It wasn't because of Zhong Yan, but because of an expert behind him. That expert was none other than one of the experts who would participate in the adjudication battle. He was someone from the other side. Both sides chose 100 people to participate in the adjudication battle. With regards to the 100 people from the other side, Qin Wentian naturally remembered them clearly. This person was one of them. As expected, he wasn't the only one who came to this devil island. There were also people from the other side who came to this island, and they had the same idea as him. They wanted to borrow the strength of the strongest power on this island, the Blackstone Devil sect. In this case, they would undoubtedly have the initiative, and everything they do would be much easier. That expert also saw Qin Wentian. Their gazes clashed in the air, both flashing with intense killing intent. This person was an expert chosen by the 9 Emperors' immortal state. He was at the peak of Immortal Foundation, and could control a trace of Immortal King might. He has already been at the peak of Immortal Foundation for over 1,000 years, but he still had no way to break through. But in the Immortal Foundation realm, his strength was clearly extremely terrifying. This time around, none of the people chosen by the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor were powerful. The name of this person was Huang Hanliang. He was also a member of the royal clan. Just that he wasn't a core member. What a coincidence. Huang Hanliang's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. It was actually Qin Wentian. Although he didn't enter the Sacred Academy, he naturally recognized Qin Wentian. This person was ranked first on his must-kill list. Since he encountered him, let him be the one to reap Qin Wentian's life. Just nice, the ranking battle this time around was a good opportunity for him. Are you acquainted with him? Zhong Yan could sense Huang Hanliang's gaze as he asked. He naturally knew that Huang Hanliang came from the immortal realms. He had tested Huang Hanliang's strength before and knew that Huang Hanliang was very strong. In fact, Huang Hanliang would definitely be able to become a devil general and replace one of them. This time around he agreed to Huang Hanliang's request. Huang Hanliang would assist him in this battle, and after that, Zhong Yan would become one of the 28 devil generals, leading a devil hall. I am. In the future, if I meet this person on the battlefield, I will have to trouble you to kill him for me. Huang Hanliang spoke in a low voice. Right. Zhong Yan nodded, glancing at Qin Wentian. That cold gaze of his seemed to have no regard for Qin Wentian at all. What's going on? Someone beside General Zhong Yan wants to kill you? Lu Xuejia's expression sank as she stared at Qin Wentian. Yes, I want to kill him as well. Qin Wentian replied. Lu Xuejia furrowed her brows. She already received the news that other than Qin Wentian, there was another immortal realm expert, Wuxia. She didn't expect that Qin Wentian would have a life and death grudge with him. If this was the case, it wouldn't matter. The problem was that Qin Wentian was a protector of Zhong Yan. If she stood against the third-ranked devil general Zhong Yan, it would be hard for her to hold on to her position as the 9th-ranked general, let alone advancing forward. Since this is the case from now onwards, I will officially strip you of your protector position. There's no need for you to assist me in this battle. I will find someone else. Lu Xuejia's personality was extremely decisive. She directly gave up on Qin Wentian. There were no emotions in the devil sect. Since Qin Wentian had affected her, She could only give up on Qin Wentian. Lu Xuejia didn't conceal her voice at all. Clearly, she wanted to tell Zhong Yan that she didn't want the third devil general to target her. This Lu Xuejia was as decisive as ever. She was an extremely powerful character. Many devil generals stared at Qin Wentian with pity in their eyes. What a pitiful character. He was abandoned by Lu Xuejia just like that. In addition, no one would dare to accept him. Also, even if Zhong Yan gave the order to kill him, Lu Xuejia wouldn't protect him at all. A cold smile appeared on Huang Hanliang's face when he heard Lu Xuejia's words. His gaze of ridicule landed on Qin Wentian, as though there was a hint of provocation in his eyes. So this was the person who stirred up a storm in the Sacred Academy? Sacred Academy? Huang Hanliang coldly laughed in his heart. For this person who stirred up a storm in the Sacred Academy, he would still kill him without hesitation. Qin Wentian's gaze suddenly turned cold. If he didn't become a Protector Knight earlier, he wouldn't even know about the Devil General competition here. But since Lu Xuejia wanted him to participate, she directly abandoned him just because Zhong Yan's protector had killing intent towards him. This undoubtedly caused Qin Wentian to feel extremely unhappy. If I'm abandoned by you, can I still participate in the Devil General competition? Qin Wentian asked. You are neither a Devil General nor a protector. Naturally you can't. Lu Xuejia replied. The battle hasn't even started, and you are already afraid because of the enemy's hostility? You have already lost this battle. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.